Okay, I'm back. Sorry, Remo needed hugs. It was important. Sometimes you need a good hug. Okay? Remo needed some hugs. All right? So it's kind of her fault. What's up, guys? Oh man, how was your 4th? Was it good? Happy birthday for the 5th. Thank you. I got a lot of birthday messages, man. Last, very important. We are going. Oh, I saw it, Thomas. Yeah. Oh, gods, it's still there. Bro, not only is it still there, and you know how I feel about wearing anything with stars and stripes, but I did kind of... Yeah, I had this for the 4th. It was good. You saw my message? I've wormed your way into your dreams. What, Loopy? Oh God, I'm sorry. Jeez, my bad. I have dreams about you guys on the streaming for what it's worth. Happy birthday, thanks. Thank you. I can repost. No, here. Let me go scrolling. You building Launchpad managed to worm its way into my dreams last night. I just wanted you to know that. Apparently, my dream involved them making the Making History pad prefab available as a part. You were trying it out and having to file a bug report because the legs weren't auto-extending into the ground like they should. Actually, Loopy, that ain't a bad idea. I missed your birthday. Sorry. Ugh, Roger, you're the worst. No, I always try to take some time off around my birthday and 4th of July because, yeah, I always try to do that. It's okay, I probably don't know yours either. It was a very believable dream. Yeah, Loopy, that's when the dreams start getting weird. Like, I have some Inception tier stuff going on sometimes where I dream that I worked on something. Oh, this... I don't talk about this because this is like, okay, EJ's gone bye-bye. Like, not that you didn't already think that, right? But sometimes I have dreams. Like, sometimes what I do is I sit after the stream and think about exactly what I need to do the next day when I'm working on the pad. Like, when we're in those real crunch modes, right? Which we're about to enter one this week. When we're in those real crunch modes to get this stuff done, right? I sit and right before I go to bed, I think about what I'm going to do to the pad, like the next thing that we need, right? And then I have a dream about it, and then I have a dream about doing it on stream, and I have like lucid conversations with you guys in my dream. And then I wake up, and I'm like, oh, damn. That works. It's a double-edged sword. First thing is like, okay, I basically have to do the work twice. Like, you'll know when it happens. Sometimes I come in here, and I know exactly what I need to make. That's when that happened. The good side to it is that, you know, I have a pretty good blueprint in my head, you know, of what I need to make, right? But, once again, I have to do the work twice in my mind. I get it, I'm not doing the work twice, but yeah, no, sometimes I have very lucid dreams about the stream. I mean, Taradra, you probably do too, you know. But yeah, Loopy, that happens. That just means you, either A, you like what you do, or B, you're playing Kerbal too much. Probably a little bit of both of those things. Work never stops. Josny, yeah, you got it. Ishiku, 11-month resub. One more till a year. Thanks for all the awesome content. You got it. You got it. Absolutely. All right, Thomas, before we jump into KSP, I want to play KSP today. I want to get that stuff with the pad figured out, speaking of that. I'm going to say the former. I haven't touched Kerbal in far too long. Been busy. Privet Gem. Good news about Buran, man. I had to translate the article. I tried reading it. I was sitting on a beach when you sent me that. I'm not going to lie to you. And I'm sitting there trying to read it, and I'm going, nope. All right, I'm on vacation. Just translate it. Yeah, Kem sent me some news about Buran. Roscosmos cordoned off the building, and they're figuring out ways to get the door open to get Buria out of there. They're looking at ways, and they also launched an investigation with Kazakhstan into how the orbiter got into private hands. Yeah, they're trying to figure out how it got into private hands. Why did it? How the heck did some guy end up owning a piece of government property, a piece of Kazaki government property? Was there an auction? They're trying to just trace the tree so they can figure it out, so they can get the paperwork to try and buy the thing back. In the meantime, they have the MIK building, which that building that Buria is in is a stack and integration testing building, similar to the TCAT that Blue Origin uses, or will use for New Glen. It's a stack and integration testing building. They have it cordoned off, and there's a security detail around it now, which is good. That's a good thing. Nice hat. So I just started a 50-ton run. 50-ton run, boy, is a lot harder than I expected. Doing it in early career, trying to be efficient equals sucks. Yeah? A good place to read it. Yeah, Kim, it was nice. I mean, that's what I was doing. That's what I've been doing the past couple of days. We have it's not a summer home, but it was my grandparents'. It was my grandparents' house, and it's somewhere on the Cape. I won't say where, but it's somewhere on the Cape, down on Cape Cod. And it was my grandparents' house, and they left it to my parents and my uncles and aunts, right? And it's kind of, everybody maintains it. It's not very big. It's about the size of my apartment. It's a little shack for what it's worth. Like, I don't have some crazy beach house down on the Cape. I wish. That'd be kind of cool. But yeah, it's somewhere down here on the Cape, and we drive down there, and yeah, it's just some time away. Yeah, it's not big. It's maybe 1,000 square feet, which is not very many cubic meters. So that's where I've been the last couple of days, for the 4th, the 5th, and then yesterday. Yeah, just hanging around on the Cape. It's nice. You can tell. How's my farmer's tan? I tried to fix it. Nope. That didn't work. Yeah, Dead Crew, the Cape is fantastic. I love Cape Cod. There's only one Cape that I like more than Cape Cod. Ain't no fixing that. All right, doesn't matter. Got a real redneck thing going right here. It's all right. Cape Fear? No, not Cape Fear. There's Cape Cod, and I like Cape Cod. The one Cape that I like more is not Cape Fear. We went past that. This is the other Cape that I like. Yeah, I figured you guys would get that, but it's all right. Happy belated birthday. Thank you very much. Cape Canaveral, baby. Hell yeah. I wonder which Cape that is. Yeah, Banana Time. You'd never guess, right? Cape Fear. Was a few days ago the day you played this song. Oh, yeah. Yeah, W. It was a good time. Yeah, fireworks and stuff. So, everybody ended up launching fireworks on my birthday because it rained here on the 4th. The 4th wasn't very good weather. It was freezing. It was like 50 degrees. So, yeah, everybody ended up doing everything on the 5th, which is why I shifted. I was going to take Saturday, Sunday, Monday off, but I ended up taking Sunday, Monday, Tuesday off, right? And then Saturday's stream was kind of an impromptu, like, oh, okay, let's go. Imagine liking a bit of land. Yeah, you wouldn't know. All your land's underwater. Got him. Yeah, Velo was fine. I don't generally like vacations. Vacations screw me up. I mean, guys, like, okay, look at my freaking job. Why the heck would I go on vacation? Every day is a vacation. I've been on vacation for freaking 5 years. At least 5 years, right? Like, I've been on vacation for a long time. That and my boss is a jerk, Like, Taradra, you know how this is. We beat the water into submission, though. I was in Ocean City, Maryland. No fireworks because they all blew up on the truck that was delivering them. Hey, that's a good way to let the freedom out. Yeah, my boss is a real ball buster, Taradra. Yeah, But yeah, it's nice, like, guys, I'll be honest, I don't like taking vacation, but I have been taking a little bit more time than I usually would. And that's because, as much as I don't like admitting this, like, there's this whole outside thing I haven't done in a little while, and I need to get my fill while the weather's nice. And yeah, I'll get bored of it eventually. Hey, gamer, what's going on? You need time off too. Yeah, Vin, every day's time off. But the spiders are outside, so. Yeah, exactly, TJ. Yeah, I'll get bored of it when the weather starts to turn and the trees start changing colors, and I'll just be like, yep, nope, I don't need to do this anymore. This weather will ruin my car, so yep, I don't need to do this. I played outside a few times. The frame rate's great, Dish. Frame rate's great. It's a fun program to play. I have the car DLC. It's fantastic. Fantastic DLC. A lot of good tinkering. A lot of pretty good sandbox game. Happy birthday. Thanks, man. Spasiba. Spoders. Yeah. Hey, Glacics. Hope you had a great birthday. Love the hat. Hell yeah, brother. Yeah. I kind of bought this as a gift to me for being such a good boy this year. And then one of my friends is it's funny. I have a friend and his name's James. So I bought him a Jack Stan Jimmy shirt. And his car also isn't running right now, and it's on jack stand, so it was doubly funny to me. So I got him a nice Jack Stan Jimmy shirt. I saw a spider on the wall the other day when I was doing wasp rescue, and I was like, hey, friendo. Yeah, Loopy, bugs don't really bother me. There was the wasp that came in here that one time, and generally, like, I don't mind bees. Like, if you don't bother them, they will not bother you. Especially wasps, yellow jackets, whatever. Pick your bee. Like, honeybees don't even sting you. Like, if you don't piss them off and you don't threaten them, they won't bother you. But this thing was like flying around in my peripherals, and it was distracting me pretty badly. So I was just, yeah, no. Did you see Eric's new article about Blue Origin? Nope. No stuttering either. Story could use some work though. Well, it's a sandbox game. You make your own story. It's like Kerbal. I mean, life is basically, there's people that go around and say life isn't a video game. But then again, those people, don't understand what an RPG is. Life is just one big RPG. Don't get me wrong. The rules are very, 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 very difficult. It's a very difficult RPG to play. And it's not for everybody. I get it. But it is fun when you do have momentary victories. Yeah, that permadeath mode does suck. I mean, we're all playing on permadeath right now. So, yeah, we don't want that. You love this video. Of course. What is it? Oh, Steve Jurvetson's collection. I saw this, W. Yeah, he posted pictures of his collection. It's crazy. I get wasp in the house every other day because the house is pretty porous. They're just lost and they need a little help. Hey, Loopy, if you want to talk about this off stream, where do you go from here? Are you, is your living situation going to change at all? I'm just genuinely curious. And once again, if you don't want to talk about this stuff on stream, I got you. Like, just tell me. Wait, I've not found the respawn point? House is in your name now. Okay. All right, dude. If you need any help, but if you need any help on where to go, dude.
Discovery, go and throttle up.
I'm decent enough at that. Like, I'm sure there's plenty of people that have reached out, but once again, like, if you, not necessarily financially, but if you need help, like getting, because you've never done this before, right? This is your first time. Technically your first property, right? Like, if you need help with that stuff, dude, tell me. I got you. I'm good at this. Where do I plug in the Game Shark? Yeah, I know, right? All right, cool. I was just curious, man, because I know you're young, right? I'm not trying to say this is derogatory or anything, so don't take this the wrong way. You're young, and I'm sure you'll figure it out. You're a smart kid. But if you need help, just, yeah, tell me. Don't be hesitant to reach out. Don't be stubborn like me. Use what you can, because, like, okay, seriously, fellas, when it comes to the real life video game, the IRL RPG, use as many resources as you possibly can. That's the best way to succeed. Do you know a real life Lester? I need to get rid of a wanted level.
Tranquility Base here.
No.
The Eagle has landed.
You got a lot of folk who are happy to help. All right, cool. All right, man. Well, hey, just, yeah, no, I mean, as messed up as this sounds, I care about you, dude. You've been with me for a long time, and you help me tackle these problems on the stream, and you add to the stream, and I won't forget that, you know? So you tell me if you need any help, dude. I got you. And I'm not trying to say that out of the goodness of my heart, and I'm not trying to do it on stream either to try and be like, oh, look at how good of a person EJ is. I hate that charitable nonsense. You know that. But yeah, if you need some help with what's going on, you just don't be a stranger. I got you. I'll help when I can. But anyway, going back to wasps. Yeah, I generally don't let bees bother me. Like, I've been working on the cars, like, outside. Like, when I was painting the truck bed, like, I had, this was, like, 10 years ago almost. When I was painting the bed on the truck, I did it outside, and I made kind of a little spray booth, right? And the wasp, bee did get in, and the guy was just confused. So, against my better judgment, I opened up the spray booth, which is not what you're supposed to do when you're painting. You need to have it ventilated, right? You need positive pressure. I opened it up to let him out because I didn't want him, you know, having like aerosol get sprayed in the bee's face, you know? Rug, 4613 subs. So yeah, I'm usually indifferent about bugs. I don't really care. Just don't bother me. I won't bother you. I'm the opposite. I literally went to exposure therapy for apophobia. What do you think about the last F1 race? It's a good race, W. I got to watch it, which is nice. Yeah. Lando! Used to be scared of bees when I was little. I don't remember what changed. Loopy, I had a bee sting me when I was really young, and the mark is still there. There is a mark right there on my head where a bee stung me. And dude, like, I don't know when it changed. I used to be scared of bees. I used to be scared of dogs when I was a kid. As I got older, that just kind of doesn't bother me anymore. It's just a bee. I guess it feeds into you don't fear what you understand. I mean, once upon a time when I was really young, I used to not like flying. Flying used to give me anxiety. This is when I was like 6 or 7. You know, like, because I saw it freaked my mother out, you know, and I was like, oh no. And it freaked my mother and my sister out, so I was like, oh, geez, you know, if they're getting freaked out, I mean, you know, I should be. Now flying doesn't bother me. I love flying. You don't fear what you understand, right? What's Spaceship 2? That's Richard Branson's spaceship. It's going to fly in 4 days. If someone is allergic to bees, he can get in a lot of trouble. Yeah, I'm not allergic to bees, Chief. Yeah, so. You missed my happy birthday gift. I didn't. I saw it. Happy belated birthday. 1054. Dude, I saw it. Thank you very much, man. I saw an article saying SN20 is ready to be stacked. Is that true? When you say stacked, do you mean put together? Like, the SN20 is ready to be assembled, not stacked on top of a heavy booster. That's what that means. Well, I mean, Loopy, bees are, and insects in general, and anybody that's watched Clarkson's Farm will know this at this point, but I mean, I knew this already. Bees are... insects and bees and stuff they pollinate the trees, right? And then the trees grow, and then the trees exchange CO2 with oxygen, and that allows us to breathe, right? Like, it's a huge tree. The circle of life. No, that's super important. And especially bees, because bees pollinate the trees, and then they make honey and beeswax and all this other stuff. You know, you can, that stuff's super important to us finding a symbiosis on this planet, which is super, that's really important. You need bees for the trees. You need trees because trees give you oxygen, and you eat stuff off of them. And even if you don't like plants, right? Even if you're into, like, you know, eating meat and stuff, which, I mean, that's me, let's be real. Yeah, those things eat plants, like cows and pigs. They have feed, and that feed comes from plants. Yeah, that's kind of important. Yeah, you need those. Yeah, that's like taking, you know, the nozzle off of a rocket and hoping that it's going to fly correctly. Nope. It's one piece to the puzzle. What's that, Evil Rays? SpaceX is launching a rocket the size of the Statue of Liberty. That's bigger than that. All right. Well, I have us set to Kerbal. Let's go play some KSP. Let's load it up. But hey, Beppis, 34-month resub. I hit an underground yellow jacket nest with a weed eater once. The entire swarm came after me. I got hit 19 times and ended up going to the ER. Yeah, the thing about yellow jackets is when you swat one and crush it, it releases a pheromone that puts the others in the swarm into attack mode. Yep, don't bother them. Yeah, they'll kill you if you're not careful. Well, not kill you. They'll put you in a world of hurt real quick. Yeah, well, that's a lot. Mm-hmm. You mean snakes don't grow on trees? I mean, maybe someday. That would be kind of cool, but yeah, no. No, I mean... Max, I know it's a joke, but it's also important to realize that, you know, we have a symbiosis with our environment that was forged over millions of years of evolution. Or, if you believe that it was endowed with by a creator, I mean, he set up that, the deity set up that way for a very good reason, right? I like the evolutionary one, but hey, whatever you want to believe is cool. I don't care. You know, that's a symbiotic system that was set up on purpose, or it evolved over millions of years, in which case that it's had nothing but time to get it right. Right? Yeah, we shouldn't screw with that. That's it. Yeah, we shouldn't screw with that. That's very important. There's an easy fun solution for yellow jackets. I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that before. Hey, Elro, what's going on? All right. Anyway, so let's... Here, I'll check this article real quick and then we'll go. SpaceX is aiming to launch its next Starship. The spacecraft designed to fly humans to Mars comfortably successfully launched a Starship SN-15 to 10 kilometers. The next flight will be launching the next generation upper stage. Okay. What site is this? Observer? All right. Is Observer a... I just need to... okay. Observer is just a general news site. Okay. So, like, I use different judgment, I'll be honest with you, for, late happy birthday to you. Nice. Floating. There you go. Meanwhile, in the ISS, not sure if you saw this earlier, but I made it in Blender. Let me see. It's getting there, Lone Prod. You're getting there. You're getting better at this, dude. I like the cloth simulation on the flag. Very good. Very good cloth simulation. Got to work on your textures a little bit, though, dude. But, yeah, you're definitely getting better at that. Good job. Yeah, like, this is what I mean. If it's just a regular news site, I tend to just... They call it an upper stage. It's not really an upper stage. You call it a spaceship. But you could also say in the same sentence that Starship is a reusable upper stage. Just like the shuttle is technically smart reuse for an upper stage, right? All right, anyway. On top of a giant booster called Super Heavy. The booster spacecraft combo will be unheard of in scale. I mean, okay. Two more photos. The booster alone is 230 feet, 70 meters tall, roughly the size of the Statue of Liberty, with the 150... Okay. Yeah. Hey, Jade. Oh, that's the next picture that I have queued up. Oh, don't worry. Jade, do you remember... Jade, do you remember when you know, SLS... When I said, like, 2 or 3 years ago that, you know, when SLS starts getting stacked and they go to launch, everybody's going to be a big SLS cheerleader. And everyone's going to say, oh, man, see? I knew that the SLS was good. Wow, the SLS is a really good rocket. I know I said that it was bad in the past, but no, it's really good. You already see that happening, which is very funny to me. Yeah, I'm sorry, that's hilarious. It's almost like people don't understand what it takes to make one of these things. Anyway, so according to SpaceX flight plan, the SN-20 would lift off from Starbase. It's not ready to be stacked on Super Heavy. That's a picture from RGV. It's not. They're not doing this yet. They're close. The pad is nowhere near finished. SpaceX is tentatively targeting the end of this month. Look, we should know at this point in time that them tentatively saying we're going to launch by the end of July is a stretch goal, because SpaceX implements stretch goals. Some people call that Elon time, right? They do this stuff on purpose. Because if they say they're going to get it done in August, there's this thing about aerospace engineering, guys, all right? If you say you're going to get it done in August, right, it's not going to get done until September. Because it is very, very difficult to predict the future. You're predicting the future with rocket science? No, it never works like that. There's always margin of error that you have to take into account. What SpaceX does to try and mitigate that margin of error is have deadlines that are near impossible to reach. They do that on purpose. Because if they say they're going to get it done in July, that means it's going to be done sometime in August, right? And if they said it was going to get done sometime in August, that means it would get done sometime in September. Because this stuff happens with rockets. That's just how they work. That always happens. So SpaceX says they're going to get it done in July, and that's the internal date that they're pushing for, and they probably are pushing for it. But I'd say realistically, we're not going to see that orbital launch probably until late August, early September right now. I mean, the launch pad isn't even near finished. It's not even close. And I'd like to say that I have some experience with GSE to an extent. If building them in Kerbal is difficult, usually that means it's difficult to do in real life. So building pads, especially one as complicated as the one that SpaceX wants to build with catching a booster, that's going to take some time. Hey, you'll want to see this, okay? Also, GSE-4 was fully scrapped and GSE-3 moved to the mid-bay for some reason. There was a defect in it, Thomas. They changed something small on the design, but it was enough to scrap the thing. By the time SLS is ready or canceled, the Chinese will have their own copy of SpaceX's Starship and booster. You think so, Trots? I mean, the rocket's fully stacked, dude. They put the upper stage on it. Yesterday. We're fully stacked, man. We're ready to go. Are you sure? I mean, look, I'm not about to sit here and underestimate, the Chinese will when it comes to wanting to get stuff done, but because they'll definitely do it. They're definitely going to make it to the moon, but I mean, we have a fully stacked rocket that's ready to go. Let's see it fly then. November. Trots, you got to remember, dude. Okay, so hear me out here. I get it. SLS moves slow. No, you're not wrong. They move at a snail's pace, but they do that on purpose. Right now, what they're doing, it's not like just put it on the pad and yeet it like what SpaceX does. That's cool, right? Like, I do like the rapid iterative testing, but NASA's doing the opposite of that. They're doing all their homework. They're doing all their homework right now, so when they go to hit this thing off on the pad in November, October, November is when they're targeting, it works. It's not going to be like like SN8 or SN9 where they just crash landed, you know what I mean? NASA does their testing a little bit different than SpaceX. And, it's cool. You know what's cool to me, dude? We have the slow and steady wins the race over here with NASA. And then we have, very, very fast iterative testing over here with SpaceX. It's like the tortoise and the hare, right? The thing is that, we can cheer both sides. Like, we win either way. You know why? Because we get two super heavy launch vehicles. Like, it doesn't matter if the tortoise wins. How I look at it, it doesn't matter if the tortoise wins. Doesn't matter if the hare wins. We get two super heavy rockets. The only thing that would have made having the Saturn V better is having two Saturn Vs, right? Like, we're on the verge of having two rockets that are as capable as the Saturn V, Starship more so. Like, the SLS is a Saturn V analog, right? Starship is a Saturn V analog and then some. We're literally on the verge of having the best of the space shuttle and the best of the Saturn V at the same time, which is pretty nuts to me, man. And once again, SLS is good to go. Like, that's the full rocket stack. Anything above here is just payload. So this is the full rocket. That's it. We're good to go. Now, don't get me wrong. What NASA needs to do is they need to do modal testing, which means they basically they're doing all their homework. They need to write the manual for how to put this thing together because this is their first try, right? They need to send it out to the pad, make sure the rocket interfaces with the pad correctly. They'll probably do a wet dress rehearsal. So you'll see it out on the pad. They'll fill it up with fuel. They'll detank it to test the detanking procedures. So in case of a scrub, you got to write the book to do that, right? So they'll fill it up with gas. They'll take all the gas out. Gas meaning propellants, right? Not the solids. The solids stay fueled the entire time. For the core stage and the upper stage, they'll make sure all the umbilicals work. They'll make sure they can flow fuel in and flow fuel out. They'll send it back to the VAB, do some final checks, and then they'll probably put the Orion on it sometime soon. And then we send it. That's going to take a couple of months. So we're targeting Q4. Well, not we're. I say that like I work for NASA. I don't work for NASA. They're targeting October, November for first operational test. And you got to remember, unlike SpaceX, and once again, not trying to talk bad about Starship, I'm a cheerleader for both of these things. I'm a fanboy for everything because this stuff's difficult, right? Starship will probably fly before SLS, but SLS will fly in a completed capacity, like the full rocket, the full real high fidelity flight test. Like this is the real thing. This is the whole final design, right? It will fly way before Starship reaches its final iteration. Starship will fly into space first, but once again, tortoise in the hare, man. So we're getting there. There will be a wet dress. Yeah. So like once again, it's going to take some time, but holy Caterpillar. Yeah, you like that, John? The 11th Neopod. So give him some time, my dude. Give him some time. But we're on the verge of having 2 super heavy launch vehicles. It will fly. It'll fly. Didn't SLS start first, though? The SLS program was originally kind of conceived in 2012, and then guys, you could on the books, the SLS program is from 2012. Construction really didn't start until 2015. That's when they started really working on it. The reason is because basically they didn't have a clearly defined goal, and they kept messing with the design, and the fallout of canceling Constellation kind of put them in a holding pattern for a little while. But they started really constructing flight prototypes in 2015. And don't get me wrong, like, there's no excuse for that. There's no excuse. Just kind of just sitting there doing for 3 years is not okay. But it's not really up to the guys that make SLS. That's up to their boss to say when to get it done, right? That's why I think now deadlines with NASA is super important, even if it does seem like an arbitrary goal. It is important. Elon tweet, care package, 42-month resub. Ooh, high-res Falcon landing. Yeah, we'll have to... We've seen that, but not in high-res, but we'll check it out. Yeah, Trots, I mean... Dude, it's not... Look, all right. Trots, like... I'm not sure you're really going to agree with this, but hear me out. Just at least give me the microphone for a second, all right? So, look. Let's look at NASA in the past, all right? And don't get me wrong, contractors squeezing NASA for money is nothing new. Oh, yeah. No, that absolutely happens. Now, it's also NASA also needs somebody there that can fight for NASA. Right? So let's look at all the times in the past where the systems worked. The system worked correctly. The system worked correctly for Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo, and then to an extent with the shuttle, right? Right? I mean, flying the shuttle and not keeping the Saturn V was a dumb idea, but we have the benefit of hindsight to see that, all right? So look at all the times when the system really works for you, right? It works for you when you have deadlines. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, right? That's with Kennedy, right? That's when the system worked. You took all these contractors who want to squeeze NASA for money, and you said, all right, fine, we'll pay you more if you get this done on time, right? That's pretty straightforward stuff. Now, what happens if you take away the deadlines? There's no incentive to get anything done. That's been my critique of NASA basically since the space shuttle started flying. I'm with you. I agree with you on that one. Deadlines are what fix that problem. Look, the second we said we're going to go back to the moon in 2024, all of a sudden the SLS program started working as intended. You saw flight prototypes, you saw green run tests, you see stuff like this. It's NASA. If NASA's going to allow itself to get squeezed by these billion-dollar corporations, well, that's NASA's fault. That ain't the corporation's fault. All right? And my cited example is the Apollo program. The Apollo program, they did the opposite of that. Everybody worked together because they wanted a piece of the pie here for this big government program, right? And that's fine. Now whether you don't like that or not, that's really up to personal opinion, right? But I'm like, whether you like how the system works, I mean, that's not really my place to say whether or not, you know, but I'm just looking at past systems because the system's been in place basically since NASA's inception, right? How this all works has been this way since NASA started, right? And so I got to look at times when it worked and times when it didn't work. Now that SLS has a clearly defined goal, you're going to start seeing these corporations being basically held accountable. Oh, all right, you need another $2 billion for this? Well, yeah, cool, that's fine. Get it done. Get it done or we're not paying you. There's accountability by these deadlines, which, I mean, like I said, you don't, like, I get it if I didn't sell you on it, that's fine, but it's a pretty good example. Also, what NASA testing? The testing they did during the Apollo program that burned 2 people alive, it was 3, but all right. Or the testing they did with the shuttle, which cost the lives of 2 crews in space shuttle, ignoring the engineers and the ground. Jeez, man. I mean, so Apollo 1 burned 2 people alive. That was 3 people, not 2. And North American was held very accountable, and they had to design a Block 2 command service module out of pocket. I mean, with the shuttle ignoring your engineers, once again, management problem, not an engineering problem. That's a management problem. That's how NASA is being run. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, it's not like we like to pass the buck on NASA and say, oh, NASA's this big thing that's, you know, they'll never get it wrong. No, they do. There has to be accountability. NASA has to hold these corporations accountable. If they don't, people die, right? So, like, if we're going to reduce it to a really crappy element like that, right? It's up to NASA, and it's up to, that's why I have Jim right here, the last NASA administrator, because like what Jade is saying, that's what he did, right? Trust me, you need to have those deadlines because that makes the accountability that holds the corporations responsible. Nobody wants to be the corporation that kills astronauts, right? See what I'm talking about? The whole system, deadlines are basically the start of how the whole system works. Without deadlines and saying, oh, we're going to go back to Mars in the next couple of decades. So basically what happened with SLS when it first started was there was no deadlines. There was no deadlines, no accountability, so they bled NASA dry, right? Which is stupid. I don't like that. I think that's dumb. The way to get around it is to give deadlines, have accountability. GAO reforms, accountability, and what Jim did by pushing the deadlines forward with 2024 for a lunar landing is starting to get the program back on the right track. You know? But I think it's very important to understand how the system works before you critique it, right? Like, you can't look at a machine and say, oh, that gear right there is the problem without fundamentally understanding how a whole machine works, right? Yeah, Hell Hydra. I mean, well, the rep hit is enough. I mean, it's definitely an interesting thing, and I ain't saying you're wrong. No, by any means. Like, don't get confused. I ain't saying you're wrong. You know, there needs to be accountability. If we don't hold the contractors accountable, they're gonna bleed NASA dry, and that's what happened, you know? SLS is a prop engine, while Starship is a jet engine. Okay. I'd say that's a fair analogy. So why do propeller planes still exist? If jet engines are the end-all, be-all to our solutions, why is every passenger liner not a jet engine? No, not using a jet motor, right? There are some airliners, and heck, there are some military planes that still use propellers, right? There's an application, right? I think SLS and Starship are trying to solve the same problem with different methods, which is fine with me. Because we can't try. One thing we can't do is sit here and pretend like if SLS gets canceled, that SpaceX is going to get that money. That's not how that works. Like I agree. Like Starship is the long-term solution. Like, dude, don't get me wrong. I'm not some crazy like expendable rockets are the best way to do it. No. I want full reuse. As somebody that grew up with the space shuttle, I thought it was dumb that we dumped the external tank every time. I understand why we did, because orbital mechanics is a pain in the butt, right? But I want fully reusable. We should. That's the only way we're truly going to move forward, and I agree with you on that one. And in that regard, SLS is an interim tech. But on the other hand, we didn't just, once jet airliners came around, we didn't just drop all of our propeller planes and say, screw it. You know what I mean? Propeller planes still exist in some capacity to this day. Like, look at a Q400, for instance, or a C-130, right? There's no reason that you can't go with both methods. And don't get me wrong, SLS has its criticisms. Like, I'm with you on that one. Oh, yeah. You want to hear good criticism? My criticism is, why did we spend $2 billion redoing the B-2 test stand to use it twice? See what I'm talking about? That's lame. We should test all the core stages. I understand the reason why, and I understand the engineering with how NASA does waterfall engineering, that doesn't make sense. Another critique would be why the SLS program carries the price tag for maintaining the VAB, right? So the SLS program carries the price tag they carry the whole maintenance bill for the vehicle assembly building. They're only using one high bay. So you have a building that you're carrying the entire price tag on that's being utilized to 25%. That's lame. That is a big problem, in my opinion. And that, you want to know how the money gets bled off? There you go, right? You dump a little more cash into this thing, you get 4 high bays building 4 SLSs all at once. That'll cumulatively bring the cost down and make it so the bill that you're footing for the VAB isn't as bad because you get more out of it, right? I think they're going to make it interchangeable, Jade, with the main propulsion testing article. They're making an MPTA to test better versions of SLS, so I think it's going to be interchangeable with EUS. But yeah, I get why. I mean, if you have to put more man hours in for the same thing or something with less capacity, someone is inefficient and non-productive. Well, like I said, deadlines are the way to get around that. Because if you look at the Apollo program, everybody that worked on the Apollo program absolutely had to be there because they had to get there at a certain time. And I think that NASA over the years has been lacking these deadlines, right? There should have been deadlines with the shuttle. Get the space station built by this time. Get the shuttle full reuse working in this amount of time, right? And then get, cislunar architecture with the shuttle figured out in this amount of time. None of that stuff ever happened, so NASA's lagging behind. We basically had to open up where we closed the book in 1972 with Apollo. These deadlines over time will get NASA up to SpaceX par, I guess. It's just going to take some time. But once again, Trots, one thing that I won't let go of is that you're not going to convince me that canceling SLS is going to get us further in space quicker. It's not going to. They're not mutually exclusive. SLS and Starship can both exist at the same time. And you'd be crazy to think that canceling SLS is going to help us in any way at this point. I get it. There's problems with the program. Not anymore so much, but I understand what you're saying. Like, totally. I want my tax dollars that go to NASA, I want them getting us the furthest we can. NASA should be working on Starship stuff right now. But then again, lack of deadlines and lack of an overall direction during the shuttle program got us where we are. And it ended up with complacency in the program. Not complacency, that's not the right way of saying it. That ended up with us going to low Earth orbit being routine, and that, I could argue, is what led to us losing a bunch of astronauts with the shuttle, because we kind of just like, okay, the shuttle goes to low Earth orbit and that's it. We weren't pushing the envelope, right? Well, for me, SLS is a typical example of sunk cost fallacy. I mean, hey, X, what's up? 48 months, dude, 4 years. Phil with a 50-er in there. Apollo costs 150 billion in today's, while NASA is now begging to get more than yeah, floating. Well, when you do it the first time, it's gonna cost a lot of money, right? I mean, I don't think that it's so much sunk cost, dude. I think that 5-year gap, where basically from 2012 to basically 2015, 2016, where they did nothing, is definitely a problem. I wouldn't call it sunk cost at this point, because Trot's like, and I see how people can say that. Totally get it, dude. Yeah, no, I'm pissed that SLS should have been flying in 2017. Like, it's ridiculous that it isn't. Like, I'm with you on that one. But at the end of the day, dude, better late than never. You know, I say better late than never, bro. Like, because the circumstances to get a U.S. lunar program back on the books seems to be something that only comes around every once in a while, right? And right now we have a lander on the books. We have the rocket on the books for the foreseeable future with NASA, and then also SpaceX is working on their lander. Hopefully, we see the fruits of that labor in August, right? And also, SpaceX is working on Starship and Super Heavy. Like, we're at a point where, you know, it's a very unique scenario that hasn't been encountered in spaceflight yet, where we have 2 heavy lift rockets being made. You know? That's pretty insane, dude. And I mean, yeah, I guess if SLS was just, if Starship didn't exist, then yeah, I kind of would be with you on that one. Like, okay, you sank all this cash in here, you know, or if, like, conversely, if there were more than one super heavy liftoff, just like say we still had the Saturn V or even the space shuttle still flying, then I'd be like, why are we making this? This makes no sense. But since there isn't any analog to Starship that NASA is using, right? I would say having an analog to it is a pretty damn good idea, because just like with Commercial Crew, with Starliner and Dragon, it's better to have redundant, dissimilar architecture. The only better way of having one way to get to the moon is having 2 ways to get to the moon, because then if something goes wrong, you can rescue, right? If something goes wrong with Starliner, Dragon can pick up the slack, or vice versa. I mean, I don't really see that vice versa happening anytime soon, but you get what I'm trying to say, right? Apollo was a propaganda machine to beat the Soviet Union. I think SLS is supposed to fulfill different goals. I mean, that one special senator underfunding and stealing funds from Commercial Crew didn't help either. Ooh, man, you've been reading a lot of Ars articles, huh? I mean, okay. Trots, hear me out, dude. A senator's going to argue for more money and more jobs in their congressional district does not seem like a nefarious thing to me. Yeah, no crap. Of course they're going to do that. Everyone does that. Why is it bad when, the guy with SLS in his district is going to argue for more SLS money? That seems to be par for the course. But once again, it's up to NASA to not just be like, oh, yes, 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 right? However, the Soviet Union axed the N-1 immediately after they lost the space race, and they scrapped the Buran as well and put the resources into space stations and probes to Mars. How's the same guy responsible for funding of Commercial Crew, etc., etc.? You'd have to go bark up the Senate or the House of Representatives. Well, it'd be the House, right? Or no, that would be the Senate. Yeah, I mean, that's a little weird. I'll agree with you on that one. Sure, man, absolutely. It's a little bizarre. Why? Yeah, why is? I mean, it's not how the Senate works. Is they have the Senate Commerce, Justice, and Science Committee, and that's not just NASA funding that's on there. So it's just by sheer coincidence, well, probably not, but that, people that are pro SLS found their way onto that. And once again, I have an issue with that, dude. I'm not going to say there's not a conflict of interest there. And the Senate subcommittees are usually designed to get around that conflict of interest. Like the senators that are on these different subcommittees are supposed to be like jurors in a trial, right? They're supposed to be impartial. I'm not going to sit here and say like I don't have a problem with that, But I mean, going back to the Soviet Union axed the N-1 because they figured out we were defunding the Apollo program. That's what happened. We didn't defund Apollo because they axed the N1. It was vice versa. And the reason why Buran went out the door is because the Soviet Union collapsed, you know? Yeah, I know, Loopy. Yeah, if anything, that's where I'm kind of like, this quid pro quo nonsense, that's where my problem is. But that's more of a, you know, I see that as just like a Kraken drive in KSP. You either allow it to flourish or you just you patch the game. You know what I'm saying? Senatorial self-interest also gave us ML2 and protected the U.S. from a hostile administration. I agree, Jade. You know, you live and die by the sword, man, and that's why, like, look, it's hard to remove my bias towards spaceflight when it comes to this, but you have to understand that not everyone in Congress is there to just, you know, give NASA more money. And I get that. I understand it. Like, I try to be very fair and very balanced when it comes to this stuff. I can see both sides of the argument, but at the end of the day, ain't no one going to convince me that less rockets is better for spaceflight. That's ridiculous. But you want to go further in space, so you want less rockets. That doesn't sound right to me, man. You know? Hello? Oh, no, my Roomba hit the door and I thought someone was knocking. Events with Iran and the Soviet Union collapsing overlap a bit. Rather, other planned space programs did not get made after the collapse of the Soviet Union in a phase of bad management of Roscosmos. I mean, that generally... Bad management is generally what happens when your purse strings dry up. In my book, there's nothing wrong with making sure that companies are largely responsible for our defense capabilities, keep smart people employed, and have the money invested in R&D. And dual-use technology during non-war times as well. I'm with you, Pete.
Discovery.
Yeah. If you ain't growing, you're dying. There's no third direction. I'm with you. Yeah, no, I'm firmly with you on that one. Some people want more, some just want satellites, and that's it. Yeah. Hey, AP, what's up, dude? 22-month resub. Brand breaks my heart. Yeah, well, hey, Roscosmos put a security detail around the MIK building, just on a side note. They put a security detail around it, and they're trying to go and find the paperwork to how the second Buran got into private hands. Yeah. Thanks, AP. How is SpaceX seeking tax incentives or whatever states any different than politicians doing such for NASA? Yeah, Loopy, that's what I mean. In order to critique the system, you have to firmly understand how it works. I can't just look at a rocket and say that's the problem without knowing how a rocket works. You know what I mean? So, like, I think, you know, like, it's hasty to say that SLS is sunk cost, because if you look at the circumstances to which it was conceived, well, not ideal, it's still there. And SLS also exists because, you know, Congress was trying to protect the National Space Program from an executive branch wanting to cancel the entire Constellation program, right? The $30 billion thing, which was stupid. You know, so yeah, it's understand. You got to understand that you live and die by the sword, man. You can't just all be, you know, like, oh, private. Like, I want to go faster into space, but that doesn't mean it's tortoise and the hare. The tortoise can go fast. Well, you know, I mean, the tortoise can go slow while the hare goes fast, right? There's two ways to do it, and two ways is going to get you two results rather than one. That's actually a point I never considered. The USSR collapse allowed resources to be diverted to civilian space. I mean, how so, floating? Not really. After the Soviet Union collapsed, we wanted to prop up the Russians' aerospace industry because we didn't want people from Russia going and building engines for Iran, North Korea, whoever was hostile to the U.S. at the time. So, I mean, and even after the Cold War, defense budgets got axed. I mean, NASA got penny pinched just like everybody else after when the Cold War ended. Their funding goes down in the 90s. And they said basically, hey, work with the Russians to keep their program up so we could work on arms proliferation. NASA's budget got slashed after the Cold War. I mean, It's true. And the SDI was replaced with SLI, no, not NVIDIA, a Strategic Launch Initiative to find lower cost ways to get into space. Like, it kind of did, and if anything, the Cold War ending helped facilitate international cooperation better, which is good. That's a good thing. Yeah, exactly. NASA got the shaft in the 90s pretty badly. Best source on Soviet and Russian stuff. Yeah, that's Anatoly Zak that runs Russian Space Web. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know that guy, but Trot's like, I'm about to throw it down, dude. I've been following this stuff and researching space policy for the better part of a decade, man. I know most of the people in the industry that report spaceflight articles. Now, I don't know Anatoly personally, but, there's a lot of guys over there that report Russian news that I know pretty damn well.
Discovery, go and throttle up.
Hey, Panta, 34-month resub. 34 months of putting up with my nonsense. How am I not banned yet? Because you give me money. No. Hey, Tronky, 4-month resub. Last, what's up, Phil? Yeah, Phil, people wanted me to check that article. I guess I could look at it during Space News, but I'll be honest with you, I've been making it a thing to not cover Ars articles here because of their inherent bias. Like, it's pretty bad, Yeah, I like how involved and passionate you are about spaceflight. Trot's like, look, man, I want to go further into space just like everybody else, dude. I understand there's problems with the program, but, dude, I'm a greedy motherfucker when it comes to this stuff. I'll take what I can get. Like, dude, I'll take this. I'll take this, and I'll cheer them on every step of the way, and I'll take Starship and cheer them on every step of the way. Like, I don't care. I'm not, dude. We should have been orbiting around Saturn by now, because we shouldn't have canceled the Apollo program. That was stupid. We should be on Saturn by now. We should have an outpost on Pluto right now. There's no excuse for that, right? Like, so, dude, I'll take what I can get. If NASA wants to get gung-ho about going to the moon, and SpaceX wants to get gung-ho about going to Mars and the moon at the same time, dude, I'm in. I don't care. I'm not picky. We should be further in space. This is ridiculous. And, like, Trot, it's gotten to the point where I don't care if it's an expendable rocket or a reusable. I think it should be a reusable, but I don't care what it is. I really don't. We should be further, and there's no excuse. We want to really figure out our place in the universe. We want to figure out how we came to be. We want to help solve climate problems that we have down here. Up there is the way to do it. We need a warp drive. We're working on it. It's important to know about its history. Well, yeah, no, dude, me taking deep dives into the history of the Soviet space program, the Russian space program when it started, in 91, the American space program, even the Chinese, like, I'll take deep dives and I'll try to figure out what's going on, because the only way to learn is by looking at history and looking for trends in history and trying to, well, the trends do change. History does repeat. History doesn't really repeat. It rhymes. Does that make sense? People have said that before. I forget who said that. I forget where that quote's from. But, you look for the trends and try to see what the next rhyming word is. Oh, I'm very interested, Jade. Yeah, let's take a look. That's so freaking cool. Oh, man. Look at the RL-10B2. That's so cool. Yeah, Ando, that's another... SLS, that's another thing. SLS should have been designed with the EOS from the start. It's dumb that it isn't. And whoever thought, having an interim thing for an engineering... in an engineering project that involves super heavy launch vehicles. Whoever thought an interim solution was the best solution is a moron. Yeah, that's really dumb. That's really not a good way to do this. Yeah, that's not a good way to do that. But hey, once again, I'll take what I can get. It's better than nothing. One guy literally memed this angle into existence. David, Jade. I know David. David's cool. Gets a little hot-headed from time to time on Twitter, but he's a good dude. He's helping curb all the SLS hate that the rocket gets, you know? So, I mean, he's very outspoken about SLS, and I mean that in an endearing way. SLS needs more people like that. Something Falcon 9 upper stage on super heavy. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Floating, exactly.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
You're talking about Cobra maneuver, so I made this plane capable of doing one. Let me see. Yep, that's cool. Hey, Core, 39-month resub. All right. Anyway, we're going over here. We'll talk more about this stuff during space news. Oh, we got a little tangled up. Tangled up in wires. I was trying to get my joystick out, and then I got DMCA'd. But I'm changing the lyrics up to the song, so we're not going to get in trouble. Oh, no. My headphone wires got caught on the steering wheel when I turned the computers on. Oh, it spooled it. No. All right, cool. There we go. Everything's untangled. Oh, boy. Too many wires, man. Too many freaking wires. I have the wires for the joystick, the Xbox controller, and the steering wheel all down here, and the headphones. It's a real big pain in the butt. Hey, Bill, what's going on? Core had a 39er in there. I want your opinion and chats between the billionaire civilians trying to get to space first. Who will win? Bronson? Who's Bronson? Charles Bronson? He'll get into space first. No. Bronson, Bezos, and why isn't Elon in that mix? Elon's an engineer. That's why he's not in that mix. He's an engineer. He doesn't don't think of Elon like a billionaire that wants to fly into space. Elon is the Von Braun of the lot. Well, Richard Branson's gonna fly into space on Virgin Galactic in 4 days. At least that's the plan. Jeff is gonna fly on the 15th, I think, with New Shepard. New Shepard is going to break the Kármán line, but Richard Branson's gonna do it first. But Spaceship 2 does not break the Kármán line. It gets to about 50 miles. It goes above the Air Force's definition of space, but not the international definition of space, which is interesting. Yeah, Elon lives in a shack just outside Boca Chica. It's important to understand that. Dude, he's an engineer through and through. That's why he's not in the mix. I don't think it's... Dude, it's not that he doesn't have a desire to do it, right? It's that, well, he has to engineer the spaceship to do it. It's not, it's like saying that Von Braun didn't want to go to space. Of course Von Braun didn't want to go to space, but he can't launch into space on an experimental rocket because then you don't have any engineer. And if you want to cite history of when a chief designer dies and the rocket doesn't get finished, Sergei Korolev is a very good example of that. A lot of folks don't know that during the space race, the height of the space race in 1966, Sergei Korolev, the guy that designed the Soyuz capsule, the Soyuz rocket, the R-7, and the N-1, passed away. The Soviets lost their chief designer in the middle of the space race. A lot of historians say that that's widely regarded as the reason why the Soviets never made it to the moon. Sergei Korolev went in for surgery, right? And for routine surgery, and died from complications from the surgery in 1966. So they lost their chief designer. The engineer has to stay on the ground until the system can prove that it works. You don't want to lose your chief engineer. That would be very bad. Another example is Walt Disney. Walt Disney wanted to make Epcot, the experimental prototype community of tomorrow, and he also died in 1966, which is strange. And his plans for Epcot never got fully realized, and we got Disney World instead. Yeah, probably Element. Panta, are you freaking kidding me? What is this? Oh yeah, the high res video. We'll watch that. We'll watch that during Space News. My team's Mars pics got posted. They're so empty. It's actually pretty interesting. Let me see. Oh. Cool. That's awesome, Demo. Good work. It was kind of ironic since it may have been lasting complications from his time in the Gulag. Yeah, I know. They sent, yeah. Stalin thought he was a spy. And, I don't know, he may have been. Doesn't excuse it. But yeah, I mean, there's only so much a human body can take. I mean, Sergei Korolev was under a lot of pressure. He was, so during the Apollo program, right, we had James Webb running NASA. We had Von Braun being basically the chief designer of everything, right? And you had a bunch of people that were working on funding. You had a bunch of people, you had all the other folks that were associated with working, on engineering the rocket. And I mean, Von Braun is an engineer. He was an engineer, but he's a good project manager. That's really where he was, really what he was good at. Sergei Korolev was doing what James Webb, Von Braun, and basically the director of KSC, he was doing all of that by himself. So when he died, there was a power vacuum in the program. I mean, like I said, he's Von Braun, James Webb, and whoever was running KSC at the time. The name is, I'm forgetting the guy's name. All rolled into one. So yeah, it wasn't good. That's the reason why they lost the space program. I'm pretty damn sure. Yeah, well, Trotsky, communism, not even once. All right. Anyway, let's go. All right, let's do this. The sounding rocket launch from Wallops is live, so might want to put that in a corner during KSP. Oh. What kind of rocket are they launching? It's a Dynamo 2 sounding rocket. Dynamo 2 mission will launch two rockets on two separate days to study the electric current in Earth's ionosphere called the Dynamo. The rocket will launch into quiet conditions, while the second will launch into disturbed conditions. All the while, NASA's Ionospheric Connection Explorer satellite passes overhead taking measurements. Cool. They're launching on Black Brant 9 sounding rockets, and liftoff is scheduled. Live stream will begin at 1:30 with commentary starting at 1:40. Oh. Kurt DeBus, a lot like a lot of the Paperclippers, has a mixed legacy, but it's hard not to be impressed by his role in setting up KSP. Yeah. All right. Or did America assassinate him? No, his own government did a good job doing that. Yep. Yep. You know what I meant, Thomas. Yeah, 1966. Interesting year. Anyway, we're working on the launch pads here. Or working on the launch pad for the smaller SSTO. I did roll back my version of KSP because I don't want to wait on that docking port fix. We're pushing the deadline. We're pushing our deadlines, very quickly. We're encroaching on the deadline ends very, very fast. So I rolled back to regular or 1.11.2 for KSP, and we're going to roll with that until the hot fix comes out. Preliminary pad operations that we did the other day were pretty good. Now, let's see. I did leave myself a message. Nice. Sounding rockets are funny. Just slap a few solid motors together with a couple communications computers and you're all set. Yeah. Simple way to get pretty good yield in science for what you're spending. Christian, okay. Today my state's representative came to your science museum about new funding we are getting for expansion. I told him to support. Today my U.S. representative came to your science museum. Okay. I told him to support the space program and work with Bill Nelson, and NASA's work would benefit even in our state and district. Hopefully the Rule 8 folks listen to their constituents. Swishton, yeah, hopefully they do. But they definitely won't if you don't say something, right? That's, yeah, I mean, they definitely won't if you stay quiet, you know, so it's worth it to say something. This thing's looking good. Plans for a service hangar? Yeah, banana time. I was gonna read what the message that I left to myself. Yeah, so let's go over here. Let me get the music up and running, and we'll get to work here. I'm doing KSP early hours, guys, so. Where's your museum? I don't know what that means, Wookie, I'll be honest with you. I think that may have been a typo, unless I'm missing something. It'd be pretty embarrassing to miss the deadline for the same ship twice. Yeah? Our Science Museum. Yeah, that's what I thought. Alright. So, what's the note that I left? To EJ. Happy birthday, hope it was good. Yeah, it was alright. You need to add air brake jacks to raise and align the SSTO to the launch table during horizontal integration. After that, build the hangar and the fuel depots, and you should be go to launch this bad mamma jamma. Yours, past EJ. Oh. Alright, alignment. Got it. Thank you, past EJ. Let's do this. Alright. So, let me get the prototype in here and we'll figure out ways to align the thing. So what I'm working on here is my single stage to orbit project. Chad has tasked me with trying to figure out ways to do single stage to orbit launch vehicles in KSP. And, yeah, that's really what we're working on here. We did some integration tests and we found that we do have some alignment problems here with the SSTO. Meaning that this thing, if we go here, I gotta make sure that we connect it to the right spot. Meaning that this thing is a little too high up off the ground. I didn't take into account suspension compression, so the SSTO, when it's sitting on here, when we're in the physics sim, is kind of out here like this. So we need to do two things. We need to figure out a way to have an alignment. We need an alignment mechanism here using air brakes, and I'll explain that more in a second. Oh, jeez, you're about to kill me. And then I need to figure out a way to align this. How's your day going? It's fine, Clayton. I'm trying to get to work here, my dude. Let's see what we can do. Alright, so we need to find ways to basically lift this thing up, get it into position. Lift it up, get it into position, and align it. Because some problems that I was having during integration is that this thing wasn't super aligned to this when we went to dock. It wasn't aligned this way, and it wasn't aligned this way. So the thing could tilt on this axis like this. And it also is, if we look at it from the side, it's too low. So I want to use air brakes here because air brakes aren't susceptible to hydraulic drift, and they actually have a pretty good throw here. You're good, Clayton. A hurricane was a walk in the park. Well, not for Tampa. And I just hope it doesn't come up to me, man. Thanks, Jade. It's based off of the X-33, bud. I went and raided... Chad helped me raid NASA's technical resources thing to figure out how it flies, and... You know, I don't have composite tanks, so I had to take some liberties with KSP to get it to work correctly. But, yeah, it's definitely... It's definitely getting there. And then I just decided, because of the low delta V requirements, I decided to make the X-33 an orbital small sat launcher instead of a suborbital test article. I saw it, Reagan, yeah. Alright, so how are we going to get this thing aligned? We're going to need something to align it to. That's very important. Rails like always? Well, there's a problem with Rails, Chimp. What am I going to use on the SSTO for Rails? I can't have stuff that pops down, right? I can't have stuff that just pops down and aligns the SSTO. Moreover, when the tug goes and redocks to the SSTO to tow it around, this connection is not always 100% straight. So the connection can sometimes be like this. See what I'm talking about? It's crooked. And because I can't get a correct alignment there every time, I can't really rely on using Rails for the truck here to align this thing correctly all of the time. I need something else. So we'd either A, need to figure out a way to align the truck to the SSTO so it docks the same exact way every time, which might be a little bit on the difficult side, or we need to figure out a way to, when this thing backs up, we need to figure out a way to align the SSTO and the truck, even if the truck is crooked, to the pad. Because if this thing docks crooked and then I use Rails to line this up, that means the SSTO, even though the truck could be aligned, right? That means the SSTO could dock to it like that. And I don't want that. Because if it snap docks into position, then the truck is going to bind up with the rails and then we won't be able to make the thing work. Right? So I need some type of alignment mechanism that we can use here to align the SSTO and get it to not move around when we're going to integrate. Right? So I'm thinking some air brakes here placed in strategic spots could probably help me out with this one. But these air brakes also simultaneously have to be able to lift the vehicle up, because we also have to move the entire vehicle up to get it aligned because of the suspension compression. So I need some type of riser here. Now, once again, we could use hydraulics. I could use that, but hydraulics do drift. That does happen. So I'm not 100% that that's going to be the right way. And even then, if I just push the entire vehicle up, that doesn't necessarily mean that the vehicle is going to be aligned. Now, we could use hydraulics like the crane. Yeah, but it drifts. Can you have rails for the landing gears? Rails with landing gears, Speedy, generally don't end well. The reason is because of the collider. The collider that's attached to the suspension can crack and strike. And you know what happens when it crack and strikes. You get an incredible amount of force applied in a second, like a gunshot, and it can flip stuff over. The expandable airlocks could work, Wookie. Yeah, that could be a thing. You don't really have a lot of control with those. It's either up or down. So I don't want to like push this thing up into position and then have it snap dock when it's not aligned. Another thing that we have to take into account is that this thing needs to be perfectly aligned. Because of the vessel hierarchy. Long story short, when I undock this thing from the pad, I need to be controlling the SSTO, right? If I'm not controlling the SSTO off the pad, we're going to have a bad day. Yeah, a very bad day. I need to make sure that I'm controlling this thing. So, alignment is key, and I don't want to snap dock anything, because if this docking port, Wookie, is like a fraction of an inch off like that, and the SSTO docks in the downward position, you know what it's going to do to the pad? If it docks, snap docks to it while it's in the downward position, the entire pad's going to do that. And that in Kerbal is a no-no. See what I'm talking about? Can't do that. So we got to figure out a way to do this here. Hang on. I got to reset chat. Give me 1 second. My dashboard UI is all screwed up. Yeah, synthesis. They make a really good base plate. They're also, but the problem is that they're a little expensive, but it's okay. Shay. Me having almost landed on the moon for the first time clicking on this stream. Well, man, I have like 15,000 hours in KSP. And I'll be honest, sending stuff to the moon and landing on the moon gets old after a while when you play this much. Wallops has a full green board for launch, okay? No, I didn't miss anything, Drummer. It's my dashboard is all screwed up. My bitrate monitor is clipping. You know, okay, so you know the part where you type the URL in? The top of the page is clipped off of that. It's behind where you type the URL in. It's some weird UI thing here. And I'm trying to move the window around to get it to go back into place, but it's not doing it. Yeah, so like if you go to your dashboard, Drummer, and you see like session time, followers, bitrate, stuff like that, that's clipped off the page. I don't want to show you, like, because I don't want to show the dashboard, but here, let me try moving this window over here. Oh, moving the windows changed it. Switching it to... What the hell? When I switch it to this window on this monitor, it moves it into position. When I move it over here, it clips... It's some weird UI thing. Hang on. I can fix this. I just got to move the window around. It's, trust me, it's just EJ doing boomer things with the UI. There we go. I got it. I had to make the window a little bit smaller and it pushed it down. Whatever. For at least initial horizontal side-to-side rotation alignment, a pair of air brakes to back up against could solve the problem at a bare minimum or give a good visual indicator. Yeah, Reagan. Mm-hmm. For sure. All right, so we need some type of alignment mechanism. So you said... Rocket says you have way more than 20,000 hours in KSP. I don't keep track. What if we dock to the ship from the belly with the riser? Then we don't have to worry about snap docking to the pad. Well, the primary interfacing mechanism needs to be here, Wookie. Because when I go to launch the vehicle, if it was attached to the erector first, when I separated the erector, the entire vehicle would undock, and then we'd get a snap dock to that one, and it'd blow the pad up. It has to be the only connection that we have with the pad via docking ports needs to be right there. It needs to be the hold down point. Everything else to move this thing into position needs to be done with same vessel interaction, or else we're not going to have a good day. T-minus 10 minutes. Board is now green. You said that already. How to stop a cylinder from drifting. Clayton, it's a game engine thing, so it has nothing to do with how real hydraulics work, dude. Like, they drift. It would be like using tinfoil. What happens in Kerbal, dude, would be like using tinfoil to mount a hydraulic cylinder. The hydraulic's going to go to fully compress, right? And the tinfoil bracket that you make is going to shatter, and it's going to move around, right? It still might work, but it does move around. That's what I have to deal with. The way my hydraulics attach and the way all my robotic parts attach, dude, is basically akin to mounting something with, like, sheet metal instead of like a really nice bracket. Covering wallops. Okay. You guys, pretty clear that you guys want me to, so I can stop what I'm doing here if you want. Hey, Vasia, 29-month resub. Late happy birthday, my dude. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yes, Wookie. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'll put it on in another window guys. But yeah, I would really like to play KSP today. I have that hankering to do it. Is this getting launched? When the pad's ready, Axel, but yeah, I would like to. I would like to get to flight test by tonight. I just got to figure this stuff out. This Wallops launch is freaking thorn in my side right now, but it's okay. Here. There you go. Give me 1 second. Let me just clean this up. I got to move my music over to my other monitor here so I can control the music independently. Oh, nice. NASA with underboosted audio. Please tell me more.
Check 179.
ACS check 174, 175, 176, 177.
Yeah, Euler, I got you. Oh, I don't know how this is gonna end up.
PLC check 180.
PTM check 181. PTM check 182, tracking 11 satellites.
So that audio is boosted 600%, guys. Be careful, because NASA, when the rocket launched, they might have a microphone right next to the rocket engine, and then it'll blow your eardrums out.
7 minutes.
See?
7 minutes to launch.
All right. Might not want to boost them. I mean, if I don't boost it, then we won't hear anything. It's fine with me. I mean, okay, let's go. All right, so I'm gonna get back to this here. We'll have that launch up in the background from Wallops. Sorry for the potential derail, but I'm amazed at your ability to grow a mustache. Thank you. It's pretty awesome, isn't it? All right, so let's see. An alignment mechanism. What did past DJ say? I need air brake jacks to raise and align the SSTO to the launch table. Okay. You know what I'm thinking, dudes? Why don't I just... Yeah, Clayton, the physics involved are good, but the hydraulic pressures involved are, and the mount, yeah, it's an analog, dude. It's good enough to like show the point, but it's not 100% accurate. Is Primo impressed with the mustache? Not really.
RSO, Starway. Go for RSO. Provide final wind weight of settings. Settings for ARC launcher are azimuth 103.8, elevation
AC-22.
77.1.
My fourth was great, man.
Copy, no change from previous settings. No change. LC, this is Starway.
I'm thinking, guys, I'm thinking.
No change to previous settings. Confirm settings. Azimuth 103.8, elevation 77.
They're talking about the trajectory for the vehicle here.
LC copies. Axle.
You know, I don't know who it was. Someone suggested putting the brake right here to lift it up. We could do that.
77.1.
Good readback. Check 183, check 184.
Just could put it right here. That doesn't really help us on the alignment front, but what's the payload for the sounding rocket? It's called the Dynamo 2 mission. It's a mission to mess with, or to get readings from Earth's ionosphere from a disrupted and an undisrupted part, from undisrupted and disrupted parts of the ionosphere. The ionosphere around Earth has a lot of electrical current going through it, and this is trying to measure.
4 minutes and counting.
4 minutes and counting. Trying to measure disrupted areas of electrical interference and undisrupted electrical interference.
On the payload, external to internal pump.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. This is the first of two. It's 2 launches. So NASA has a satellite that's going over, that's looking at the ionosphere, that's monitoring the ionosphere, and they're going to launch these things into the disrupted and undisrupted, and whatever they find is going to, the satellite's going to see it, and it's going to image it, which is actually pretty cool. They're basically going to, they got to wait. That's why this has a launch window. They got to wait until the satellite's overhead. Now, like I said, this could work here. But I would need something to align it. I actually don't mind using the air brakes here. That's actually a pretty good way to do this. Somebody suggested putting them on the back. That's actually not a bad idea. We just basically have to get this thing raised up enough off the ground to make that work. But we also need... I also need a way to get the front of this thing up in the air. Now, what I'm wondering is... Actually, yeah, you know, that'll work. This will work just fine.
Check 185.
Especially if we lock out the hydraulics here.
Go ahead, PM.
Report signal strength and deviation.
But see, if we raise the back of the vehicle up,
RC,
if we raise the back of the vehicle up, once again, we could run into a snap dock. So I have to have these working in conjunction with another...
interrogate transponder to verify good signal.
Okay, they're verifying signal on the transponder here.
Passage 187.
Alright, we'll switch...
This is the Channel 1.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Alright, we'll go over here.
Confirm nominal.
ATS, check 188, 189.
UNH, check 191. PLC, check 190.
KTM, check 192.
PLC, check 193.
See what we got.
ACS, check 195, 196.
ACS, yes, check 197.
KTM, check 198.
I know the audio sucks, guys. I get it. I'm not going to boost it because NASA will blow your eardrums out. What? But watch. This black brand is going to get off the pad real fast. These are basically missiles. They use missiles for first, second, and third stages. It's actually pretty cool.
Please confirm proposed status. PLC, go. PTM,
Go.
ACS,
Yeah, watch. Like I said, it's a missile. It's going to go real quick.
SRPF,
Go.
MMs go, check 202.
I know about Stellaris plums. Maybe someday.
Carrier arm, 1203.
Okay. Bomb's the weapon. It's not a weapon. Come on.
Check 204.
Yeah, watch this thing.
10, 9,
8,
7, 6,
5.
4, 3, 2,
Here we go.
1,
Send it.
launch.
Goodbye. There it goes.
First stage burnout.
Uh-oh. Come on.
Radars 5 and 18. Check it.
Okay, there we go.
Second stage ignition. Radar 3 is tracking the position.
Pretty quick first stage cutoff, huh?
PM tracking off the pad.
It's missiles, guys. They're just missiles. They're using missiles as first and second stages. Okay.
Second stage burnout.
Stand by for third stage ignition. It's coasting for a second. Come on. Come on. Oh.
truck and a booster switching to payload.
Motor set.
Okay.
Main skirt set.
Skirt separation.
Relays on.
Radar 3
Caps deployed. IG filaments on. Nose cone deployed.
They deployed the cone, so
Motors on. Coolers on. IG filaments on and set.
boost audio now. Sure.
Clearance deployed. CT IT filaments on.
Should be a little louder. Turn it down.
Sphere has deployed.
Still good TN lock on all sources.
High voltage on.
This was out of Wallops. Yeah, this is Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport, guys. The rockets, it went behind some clouds. And Ryan, this is a tiny boy rocket. This Black Brand is a small sounding rocket, dude. You're not going to see it once it gets too far away. It'll get lost in the atmosphere in atmospheric diffuse. Just how, you know, Chincoteague Island over there is blurry and hazy. That's actually, I think we're looking the wrong direction for that to be Chincoteague. Chincoteague is that way. As Das would say, the best thing to see on a launch day is an empty pad. That's right.
Payloads at average per GPS. 123.5 kilometers.
Thing got over the Kármán line. 63 miles up. Actually, more than 63 miles up. That's a long way. That's almost 70 miles up. That's a long way up there. It's an Estes rocket. Yeah, Ryan, it is, basically. I mean, these are missiles. They use missile stages. In the same way that, like, an ICBM can be used as a launch vehicle, like Soyuz, like Atlas, like Titan,
TD to Delpia.
Proton. They all started as ICBMs, and they made them launch vehicles.
Can we get some folks out to the pad and take a look for gross hazards real quick?
Okay, they're gonna send some guys sniffing over there. This is just a bunch of this is smaller missiles being used as a civilian launch vehicle.
RSO, this is LPM.
Oh, Novus, I've seen it.
Go for RSO.
Oh, I've seen
Clear
it.
to get a crew out to the pad and take a look for gross hazard.
You're clear.
Pretty baller.
Copy that.
Yeah, great launch. Cool. I'm not sure we're gonna hear much more or see much more there, but I'll leave that up. I'll leave that up on the other monitor. But I want to get back into KSP. But yeah, Novus, I saw the ICPS stack. It's so cool. Anyway. All right, let's get back into tunage. So turn the stream down now if you were boosting it. I'm going to put the music back up. All right. Let's pop in here. Shut that off. That was just Discord with the stream still up. All right, cool. All right, so let's get back into this. So I actually think that air brakes on the back, whoever mentioned it, is a good idea. After the second stage integration, will Orion go on? They have to do some modal testing, Wiser, and they have to put all of Artemis 1's secondary payloads in the Orion stage adapter on. So it's gonna be a second before Orion gets stacked. But yeah, that is generally the next big component. There's a lot of secondary payloads inside of Orion's service adapter, a lot of CubeSats and stuff that that's SLS is launching. SLS is not just launching the Orion capsule and the ICPS up there. There's a bunch of other things, a bunch of small CubeSats that they're carrying. So they need some time to put all those CubeSats together inside of the OSA. And once that's done, they got to do some modal testing, and then the ESM, the ESM, European Service Module, the Orion, and the which will be encapsulated inside of the It'll be encapsulated inside of the launch escape system, and it'll basically look like the AA2 mission. It'll look like this. This will get put on in one piece. It'll look exactly like this, minus this second section right here. So this section right there with the down to the black stripe. It's basically what it's going to look like. Not bad. I thought it was space news. Hey, it's all good, man. Yeah, it's that part. The next piece is going to look exactly like that. Yeah, the AA2 mission was the Ascent Abort mission. It was when we watched an Orion boilerplate with a launch escape system launch with basically an ICBM shoved up its tailpipe. Yeah, this is a Minotaur first stage. It's an ICBM, and they put it inside to accelerate the Orion capsule and the launch escape system to a similar dynamic pressure that they would see with the SLS mission. With SLS to test the ascent to test the launch escape system. Yeah, that was an awesome mission. Very, very cool. One of the most Kerbal things I've ever seen. It was right up there with SpaceX's IFA, which was unreal. We watched both of those here on stream, which was really, really awesome. Really cool things to see. It's weird seeing parts in real life intentionally act like the craziness that we see in Kerbal. I always thought that was really cool. So, like, when the thing launched, it separated, right? The launch escape system went all over the place. The boilerplate Orion went all over the place, and like the Botail and stuff all went all over the place, and it looked like a rud in KSP. Intentional, right? But still cool. All right. Anyway, yeah, Novus, I'm gonna do a deep dive on those integration pictures during Space News. I really want to peep those things. It's some freaking eye candy. Right, Weiser? It's so true. Yeah, the data recorder was ejected as well, Hell Hydra, yeah. Cool. Alright. So, let's go. So, these back air brakes here are not a bad idea to get this thing lined up, but I also need something that's going to raise the front of this thing up in the air, and I'm not exactly sure how we're going to do that part. We need something that's going to align. We need to align this thing, and also inflatable airlocks. Well, Sea Dragon, the problem with inflatable airlocks is that we have no fine adjustment, okay? So integration with rockets, dude. Kerbal is the same way because Kerbal has the snap dock with the docking ports. So it kind of is, you use the right formula or use the wrong formula, but you got the right answer type of thing. How you put rockets together in real life. So like when they put the ICPS together, they don't just drop the ICPS on top of SLS and okay, snapped it into place, right? It's little fine adjustments. You got to move it into place, get it there, then you bolt it, right? In Kerbal, we need to do the same thing. So in that regard, I don't really want to use those inflatable airlocks because those inflatable airlocks have two positions, open and closed. So I don't want to do that. I'd really like to use something that you can adjust very, 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 very fine. It might be good, Wookiee, to do something like this. If we have an air brake, right? What are these at? What angle are these at? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. 15, 30, 45, 50, 55, right? So we could have this sucker right here, right? And then if I absolute snap it and get it into the right height, and I get these basically all at the correct height, right? And then we move this back into position here, right? And then I could put these on a cow controller to slowly lift the entire vehicle up into the air. Why does it need to be on that angle? Asha, it really doesn't. It doesn't need to be on that angle. It's just these pieces were already here, and I thought it looked cool to mount these here. The air brake has a very, 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 very long throw. So you can... It doesn't have to be on that angle. I just thought this would look correct when these things are stowed, having them like that. That's all. So yeah, this thing could be used to raise. If I made all these cow control, if I put all these on a cow controller, the air brakes, right? And we made them like here. If I did something like this, right? I need a spot where I can easily get at this thing, right? And we open the editor like that. Air brake lift control, and then we went here, and then we went into air brake lift control. We can adjust the authority limiters on these things, right? And we can make these things move into the correct position to get this thing aligned. So right now I have the SSTO directly aligned, right? So this would be the maximum throw for these things. Let's overestimate it just a little bit, and we'll go at 46. So we need 0, and then over here we need... Oh. This isn't a value, so what happens if I set that to 46? Okay, cool. Copy and paste that here, right? And then if we do this, right, we need to set the deploy flag on these things on, right? And then they can move in synchronous. What happens if you overclock the air brake authority limiter? They'll go further. They'll most likely just keep going in circles, man. I don't know. I've never done it. Let's try 70 here. Yeah, 70 seems to be, because this is a value out of 100, and the degree on the authority limiter doesn't necessarily reflect the value here, or does not reflect the value. So what are those flaps for? They're to lift it up, Canadian. Part of the problem that I had with alignment here previously... oh, hang on. Just one thing real quick. One thing that I had with alignment is that on top of, getting our alignment right, getting the alignment right this way, right? And getting the alignment right, like turning and then forward and back, is that this is too low, right? Or this is too high, but I can't change that because this needs to be at this height, because when we go to turn the SSTO, I can't have the control surfaces clipping into the ground, right? That will create perturbing forces when we go to separate. We don't want that. That would be very bad. So part of what I'm trying to figure out here is if we can use the air brakes, like we back this thing into position and we use the air brakes to move this thing to raise it up, basically lift the entire thing up to the right height for the docking port to work. But the key to do that is that this has to stay level when we do that. That's important to, it's important to understand, like to have it level. And then I also need to worry about alignment this way, like turning alignment that way. I'm thinking how we could do it. Hey Steiner, what's going on? That's fine. This would be a good start. It'd be a good thing to test, but we also, once again, I need alignment for the SSTO. And we can't use the truck because the truck might not necessarily, because it needs to undock and redock to the front here. This docking port might not necessarily line up in the same way every time. So it's really something that needs to be done it's really something that needs to be done with the SSTO. Thanks, Llama. I appreciate it. It came out pretty cool, man. I want to get this thing operational, and I want to do test flights by tonight. Interesting mechanics. I like it though. Could you also use the flaps on the sides to push the craft left-right? We could if we found the right spot. You look determined. Thanks, man. Yeah, I want to get this done, man. Really want to get this done. Hey, Brox, what's going on? What's the payload for to LKO? About 2 tons, Crumpet. This is a small sat launcher at best. But it'll give us some good data on how the big one is going to fly. That's why I'm pushing for it. I think that's overcomplicating this, Wookiee, but yeah, you could. JP, what's going on? What's the mission? I'm figuring out a way to get my SSDO to redock to its pad after it's flown its redock to the pad after it's flown its mission, so I can launch it again. I just need something to align this way. How about, what happens if we took like another set of air brakes, right? And we put them in 2x symmetry, like right here. And we just use that to align the nose a little bit. Hey, Tech, what's going on, man? And the reason why I'm using these and not the robotics is because the air brakes don't drift. They don't drift over time. They just kind of sit there. Control surfaces don't drift very much. Maybe we can... We don't want to put it in a spot where the front landing gear is going to hit it, but we also don't want to put it in a spot where the rear landing gear could hit the thing as well. Like, what are these going to get us in terms of alignment? Just chilling? Heck yeah, man. Tiny piston. Well, Wookie, I don't want to use pistons here necessarily, man. I mean, pistons would be the easy way to do it, but the pistons drift over time. I don't want to have to recover the pad every couple of launches. But then again, that kind of remains to be seen. Maybe we should just go, like, it remains to be seen how, you know, how reusable this pad is anyway. Like, we don't know how reusable it is because we haven't really put it through a lot of testing. Now, will these interfere with the rear landing gear? Nope, not even close. Cool. Another thing that I could do, and this might work, is have just like I have my pistons down here basically touching the ground, and these ones are basically touching the ground as well, right? We could have a piston down here for the riser touch the ground basically. That would work. So, like, I'll have a piston, we could just, I mean, we don't need a lot of throw, so we could have something like this right here, right? And I could just push this into the ground, right? And then control it from here, and we could control the extender, and we could just have a bracket, basically, right here. Right? And the bracket will look like it's sitting here, and then we'll extend it up, and we can make it look like the piston is pushing on it, and then that piston will push down into the ground, and it won't drift, because it has to collide with the ground. Anytime it tries to drift down or up, it's just going to get pushed into the ground and pushed back up again, which is a good way to do things. It's not a bad way to do it. That also could work. Not a bad way to do that. It's really not a bad way to get that done. Yes, yes. What's up, Grab Shark? How are you? How you doing, man? You know what? We'll try with air brakes first. These should do this. Alright, so let me go in here, open this up, and I'll add to the air brake lift controller. We'll add authority limiter, take these air brakes, set them into the deployed position, right? And as these get lifted up, right? Well, actually, you know what? Let's just copy this curve over and see what it does. So we have front alignment right there, right? And these things basically need to stop. They basically need to stop right here. So let me take this and select this right here, and then that one stays at 47. Right, these ones will lift, right? And they'll stop, and then we lift the thing up. Keep in mind that this is the raised position, so the SSTO is going to be lower than this. So these ones will push it up first, get it aligned, and then we lift. Well, this is already in the high, where it is, Canadian. Yeah, exactly, yeah. In any other occasion, yeah, you're absolutely right. But yeah, this is already in the raised position. So that's front alignment. But what about back? What about the aft alignment? You know, maybe that, I don't know if we should have something back here that helps with that, you know? Here, let's copy these air brakes. Maybe we could put something right here. Right? And then, first of all, I gotta... maybe copy this curve and put it right here, and then... okay. If we can mimic the angle with this thing, right? So, get this thing to its maximum position, right? And then move it back. Like that. Right? Do you want the air brake on the riser to be the only point of contact? Not the beam. Riser. What is a riser? Doing okay. Sleep is upside down this week from the dogs being up until 3 to 4 a.m. over the weekend from the constant shelling in our neighborhood. Nice. Possible remote stream. What's that, Cajun? Yeah, we watched Wallops. We watched it on stream, Grab Shark. Yeah. Media accreditation in Northrop Grumman's August 10th cargo launch from Wallops in Virginia. Well, the U.S. international media welcome. Applications in by 4 p.m. Yeah, I'll think about it. The beam on top of the white panels with the air brake on it. Do you want the air brake on the riser to be the only point of contact, not the beam? Well, no. This will basically only be here. This will only be used to raise the vehicle up when this thing is on the ground. This is the one that we use to push the vehicle upright with. And even then, I still need to I still need to solve that, because the time it takes for this thing to get up into the 90 position because of how these... because of the what is it, quadratic movement of these things. The quadratic move, I think it's quadratic movement. I could be wrong on that one. Basically, how this moves and how that moves means that it takes different times for it to get upright. But yeah, no. This way is fine. 8 hours away, Cajun. 6 hours if there's no traffic. Oh, there you go,
Discovery, go and throttle up.
Shackstar, 62-month resub, only 7 more to go. Yeah, nice. So this should do it. The only thing really left here is to test it. So I think we'll do some tests here. Yeah.
Discovery, go
And
and
that's
throttle
not
up.
in symmetry. I had to put it in sim, guys. And now I have to go back in here. Cool. Yeah, alright. This should work. I don't see why it wouldn't. We also got to make sure the pad is set to the right configuration here. We need configure vessel naming. Set to lander, priority 10. Okay. Yusuf, 11-month resub, 11 millennia. Okay. Pad is in position. All right, let's do a cert test here. Before I go look in the fridge and inevitably get very disappointed, did you eat the cheesy bacon tots? No. No, there's still tots and chicken in there, Rima. I ate the pizza. You can have them if you want. Should we launch something? This is just an integration test. I should have bound deploy angle, shouldn't I? Yep. Recover. Do the job right. I work at a newspaper called the Weekly Kerman. We recently hit our first full year of making papers about all the news related to KSP, and a meme or two thrown in there. We made quite the name for ourselves in the community. Figured you'd be interested. I can send a link to our paper if you want. Shoot me a link in Discord, Market. No, you chat Joker, you don't get any tots. You can't have any tots. No, I don't want to give you any. They're loaded tots, Grab Shark. Bacon bits and 3 cheese on top. So tater tots with like cheddar and more cheddar and American and all this other stuff, and then bacon bits sprinkled on top of that. And no, you can't have any. It's Primo's. we don't really want to bind the authority limiter. I need deploy angle.
Discovery, go and throttle up.
Hey, Bio. What's up, you dang stroop? Okay, get rid of the authority limiter, get rid of authority limiter, and then that leaves these things here. Let's add deploy angle there, add deploy angle there, and then copy this curve and paste it twice over there. And then we can get rid of authority limiter there, and authority limiter there, and authority limiter there. So all these should be set to deploy angle. Let's make sure they work. I wonder if authority limiter and deploy angle are... Now I'm confused. I mean, this should all be working correctly. Shot you a link. Thanks, man. Strange. That should be animating. Alright, well, let's try it again. You just want a little bit, EJ can have the rest? Oh. Yeah, Jim. Mm-hmm. Oh, geez, Rick, why do you gotta call me a stroop all the time? Because I can. Alright, well, Jim, let's see if these things do what we want them to do. Bingo. Looks good. So there's our alignment. And then there's our lift. Perfect. Good. Hey, Van, what's going on? All right. See what this angle is set at. Set at 1. All right, cool. Take that. Block that out. No, Shaq, not yet. New launch facility? More or less, Droya, yeah. I'm trying to get one going, a highly reusable one. I'm trying to get a highly reusable one going for the SSTOs, just like we did with Freedom. So I think we're good. But I will get an SSTO out here, and we'll drag it around. See what we can see. Yeah, there you go, Vanguard. This will be a game changer for your builds. It'll help, for sure. I've heard of it, Tech, yeah. Yeah, I've heard of that before. I mean, related to drift. Depends, Shackstar. That very, very, very much depends. But, yeah. I'm coming... I've formulated some ways, but I really got to see how they work before I can really make any ruling on that, you know? Hey, Badger, what's going on? Alright, we'll do this testing unmanned. How are you doing payload integration? I'm going to use an overhead gantry crane, Crumpet. The gantry crane, instead of straddling rails, like the old pad, is going to straddle the fuselages on the side of the pad instead. And it's going to look more like a hangar than it does like a crane. I thought that would be cool. It'd be a fun thing to implement, and it would look really, really neat. Like the hangar will slide out of the way, right? So the crane will pick stuff up, we'll put the payload in, and then the entire thing will slide out of the way over the ramp part of the pad, and then we turn the thing upright and launch. It's supposed to... The whole idea is that we're supposed to do this quickly. Hey, J-Speed, what's going on? Yeah, it should look amazing when it's done, and it wouldn't be that many parts if we do this, if I do it right, if I'm smart enough to get it done correctly. All right. No, that's not what I wanted. Can Virgin Orbit launch modules for a space hotel if they decided to build one? Virgin Orbit's payload capacity to orbit is virtually nothing. Nothing that would constitute like a space hotel. They could move the food to a space hotel, but that's about it. You're talking about Launcher 1 off the 747? That's not enough. Not even close to the right payload capacity, dude. To build like a hotel. Yeah, not even close. It's a small sat launcher, like Electron at best. Something like that, Stereo Bravo. Yeah, kind of. Alright, so no Kerbals aboard. Let's figure it out. Virgin Orbit does not... Dude, the payload fairing is about the size of a small closet, at best. You're not moving anything that big into space with that thing. That's the inherent drawback to strato-launching things, Bobby. If you... Okay. A 747 can move a small rocket up to 30,000 feet, and they could launch that way. That's fine. You can do that. That actually makes sense. If you're launching small stuff, that's not a problem, right? That's actually a pretty good idea. Because now you don't need a dedicated launch site, and you can launch that thing in any direction you want. You want to change... You want to have an equatorial launch site? Sure. Fly the 747 to the equator and launch from there. You want to have a polar orbit launch site? Cool. Take off, fly out over the ocean, head due south, turn upright, launch it. Boom. But here's the thing. If we're going to launch anything useful into space for humans, right? For humans, strato-launching doesn't make any sense. The reason is because now you want to launch something to move like a Falcon 9 up into space, right? Moving a Falcon 9 up into space requires the plane, well, that's about 10 times more powerful than a 747 is. So now you have to make a bigger plane. So now you make a bigger plane, right? Make a bigger plane, you need a bigger runway. Make a bigger runway, you need a bigger airport. And all the time it takes to make a bigger plane and a bigger runway and a bigger airport, you just could have built a launch pad instead. It's literally less expensive, right? Engineering a new plane is complicated. This is why we don't... I mean, and Paul Allen was trying to do this with Stratolauncher. That's what he was trying to overcome. He's trying to fix that problem with Stratolauncher. Stratolauncher is the biggest plane in the world. Not by length, but by wingspan. It's gigantic because it's designed to launch bigger stuff into space, right? But Stratolaunch is basically the limit. And Stratolaunch cannot lift a fully fueled Falcon 9. Not even close. In fact, Stratolaunch weighs as much as a fully fueled Falcon 9. Actually, it probably doesn't even weigh as much as a fully fueled Falcon 9. It's easier to just build a launch pad. So Virgin Orbit, while that small sat capability is great for small sats, very competitive for the small sat market, it makes no sense to do that with a bigger payload. Why? 747s can't move a bigger payload. Hey, Swishio. Funky, what's going on? Wolfpack, how you doing? 46-month resub. It's literally if you give a mouse a cookie. And you know you don't want to get into projects like, oh, well, if I do this, then I got to do this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and then this. Yeah, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do the give a mouse a cookie scenario with rockets. You'll end up in the poorhouse. How much lighter can a Falcon 9 be if it's launched from a plane? Isn't that some of the point? It doesn't need as much gas. Well, Breen, you basically have to answer this question. How far or how quickly does the Falcon 9 get to where it would be stratolaunched from? So 30,000 feet? How fast does a Falcon 9 get there? 30 seconds? Maybe a minute? So a minute of fuel? It's not worth it. Just for that same price, you just make the rocket taller, which is what SpaceX did for reuse, right? Making the rocket taller is a lot simpler of a solution than building engineering a plane that's bigger than the AN-225 to put one of those up to stratolaunch. Basically, the engineering cost of doing something like that outweigh the gains that you get from launching something that big from that altitude. Hey, Lols, what's going on? So only ULA could realistically put modules in space like that right now? ULA could do it, SpaceX could do it, the Russians could do it, the Chinese could do it, and that's about it. And the Europeans too. Can't forget Knez. No, don't just Google it. Anybody that can put over 20 tons into space would be useful for building a hotel. Anybody that puts less than that, not so much. Jet assisted integration. Alright, so let's just get the thing. I know we're misaligned right now. We're not nearly close. The docking port is shifted. So what we can do now is switch over to the pad, right? And if I start running this cow controller here, let's see what it does. Did it move us to an alignment position? It did definitely sketch the plane around. And it did move us to an alignment position. Alright. Now, ready? Don't explode. Holy crap. Wow. Well, that worked a lot better than I thought it would. That worked perfectly. Okay. Alright, let's just go in here and take some alignment numbers. Alright, so first off, let's check this, right? So that's pitched at nothing. That's pointed straight, right? What about the probe core that's docked to, or the docking port that's docked to it? This should read, okay, we're a little bit crooked within 1/10 of a degree, just a little bit, but that's because gravity is pushing the SSTO down. All right, now what about the probe core here? Let's take a look here. Probe core, that's tilted down. Okay, so now my forward control point probe core, where the avionics are, or where the communications are, -1. All right, so this thing is pointed downward. The SSTO, I'll put it this way. The SSTO is pointed downwards a little bit. That's because of gravity. Basically, nothing's holding it up. Now, if I take this and we undock that, okay, that's normal. This kind of stuff happens. Move the jet truck out of the way, right? Just leave it here, and it wants to skitch around, so we time warp a little bit. Time warping just a little bit will fix it. Cool. Alright, so just leave the jet truck there for a moment. Right? And now, switch back over to the launch pad. We need to unlock the rear hydraulic. Alright. And now we need to go over here. The rear hydraulic is unlocked. So... Now, this part does happen just because of how that's all set up. I see, this is the part I need to fix. The erector is basically only needed for a second there. Alright, so now let's take a look at the front port on the SSTO. Where is it facing? It's 88. It's facing 89. Is this an orbit capable version? This one will get into space, yes. Alright, let me look here. What is this telling us? 89.7. What about you? 88.9. Is that docked? Alright, what happens if we undocked? Oh, the whole thing's bending a little bit. So, under load... If this is the launch table and it has the SSTO on top of it, when we rotate it into position, because our hinge point is on this side, it's tilting this way. So it's very small. It's not a lot. It's by a degree. But we're actually over-rotating it because of all the mass. So I need something else over here aside from that with same vessel collision to hold this thing upright. The thing that I could do is set these hydraulics a little bit. We could set them up and set their minimum deploy point. But I don't want to do that because that means when the thing launches, these things are gonna, because they're holding up something. See the differential number between extension and current extension and target extension? If I separated the thing during a launch here, the pad is going to go like this. The pad will boop. So we don't want that. We need these things to be at 0 extension. So they don't spring up when we go to launch the vehicle. So I'm going to need another way to hold this thing up. We need more ways to hold it. Retract the erector, okay. What about a docking port on the transporter erector and the SSTO? Could that fix the bending and tilting? Well, Switchio, this thing is unfueled and we're getting some nasty drift right here. It's unfueled. When the thing's fueled, it's going to drift even more. The TE has to retract in order to launch the vehicle. So we got to find another way. I got to find ways to basically hold this thing up. Like the hat? Hell yeah, brother. Just undock and retract the TV before liftoff like everybody else. Is there any yaw bending going on? A little bit. Just a teeny bit. It's very slight. Dead crew, that yaw bending going on is because we're tilted backwards like this. So if we tilt the thing backwards, it's more likely gonna do this, right? If we get it straight up, it should fix that problem. So like, yeah, see, heading and roll are a little messed up because pitch is messed up. You align pitch, everything else falls into alignment. I think what I'll do is I'll put I-beams off the bottom of the pad right here, or put something else for these surfaces right here to sit on. Yeah, I put beams. Putting a beam down here that touches the ground would probably be a good idea. Yeah, just put four extra I-beams here that are touching the ground. Or I think these do have some overlap, so we have some play. Attaching another set of I-beams to the fairing plate, gizmoing them into position, and then making them so the I-beams will touch the ground, and we'll have 5 points of contact between the pad and other things to keep it aligned, I think is the right move. Okay, cool. So, here's what we'll do. Let me reverse this. It's going to go up there fast because I yeeted the cow controller. Bonk. Do air brake work against the ground? Yes. Yes, they do. I'm not sure we have the space here to make an air brake fully extend off this arc track, but yes, we could do that. Absolutely. Heck, I could put the air brakes inside of this if we really wanted to. I'd prefer to, you know, spread the load wider, right? You'd want points of contact here, 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 and here, and then one in the center. That would be the right move, I think. Okay, re-enable the master rotational control, set it to reverse, and play. Hey Envy, what's going on? See, this is where I need to lower the play speed of the rotational controller. Because this thing is going to fall once it gets past 45. And then what we can do to make sure that we're realigned to the pad is set these back to 3.6. Yep, okay, alright. Alright. Yeah, I need some way for these things to kind of work. I need a better way for these to work in sync. How was the birthday? It was fine, T-Man. It was great, thank you. I more wanted to celebrate 4th of July. My birthday is just the bonus part, I suppose. Hey, drummer. How's it going? It's going, man. It's going. Alright, so now another test that we need to do here is I'm going to trigger the decoupler, or the docking port here, for separation, make primary, and we have to see what control defaults to. I really need control to default to the SSTO, and it should, but we gotta be sure. Arsenal, seeing a bunch of NASA charts comparing their lifter performance in C3 instead of Delta V. What's C3? Energy. Yep. It's how much energy you need to get to certain points, Arsenal, and that does play into Delta V a little bit, but so think about it like this. You could have an SRB upper stage, right? You have an SRB upper stage, or you could have a Hydrolox upper stage. Now, which one of those do you think has more C3? Seriously, think about it. What has more C3? An SRB upper stage or a Hydrolox upper stage? The Hydrolox one does. Why? Why? Why would a Hydrolox have more Hydrolox upper stage have more C3 than an SRB? SRBs are very energetic, remember? Better specific impulse, more efficient fuel. Pretty much. Hydrolox is efficient. The amount of energy that it very efficiently puts out energy in the form of thrust, right? It basically gets you the maximum performance out of your propellant. So rockets have different C3s, and your C3 can change over time. For instance, if you have a Kerolox upper stage or solid rocket fuel upper stage, to achieve the same C3, you might need more SRB fuel than you do Hydrolox, because Hydrolox burns way more efficient. To get the same amount of energy, to get the same amount of Delta V, you might need more SRB. You might need more fuel. Right? That's why they measure in C3. C3 shows performance. On top of Delta V, you can have the Sea Dragon, right? You can have a Sea Dragon rocket, or you could have a Saturn V. Which one of those things do you think has more C3? Well, the Sea Dragon's designed to be a big, dumb rocket and use Kerolox, right? For its first stage. The Sea Dragon has way higher payload capacity to orbit. But it's not efficiently using that energy because it's so ridiculously big, right? Saturn V probably has more C3 than a Sea Dragon. Atlas V has more C3 than Falcon 9, despite them having similar payload capacities to low Earth orbit. Interesting, right? Yeah, just when you think you got it figured out. No. Here comes something like C3, and you're like, But Delta V, no. There's other ways to measure it. What C3 do you need to reach a polar orbit? You know, C3PO. I get it. All right, Canadian. Why is it called C3? That's just the name for energy, just like theta is angle, right? That's just the variable for it. It's the variable for energy. All right. So now what I'm going to do is pop off. What are we defaulting control to? Nice. It defaulted control to the SSTO, which it should have done. And my air brakes are holding the SSTO in position. Oh, excellent. Perfect. So why would they measure rockets in C3 to a destination instead of Delta V? Seemed like Delta V would be a more accurate baseline metric than C3. Usually they're correlative, Arsenal, but there are some ways where they don't become correlative. Long story short, rocket science is complicated. C3 would matter. It really depends. So, like, okay, do you measure, like, think about it like this, okay? It's because it's the most appropriate system for it's the most appropriate measuring system for measuring payloads that are going to different types of orbits. Now, what does that mean in plain English? A plain English way to understand that would be like, well, why do airplanes use knots instead of miles an hour? Because airplanes cover crazy long distances, right? So do boats. Boats and planes both use knots to measure velocity, right? So nautical miles an hour, right? Why don't they use miles an hour? Why don't they use kph? That would be better. No, not necessarily. Ships use longitude and latitude. And the difference between a minute of longitude and latitude, minutes of latitude and minutes of longitude is 1 nautical mile. So it makes sense for them to use knots. It's all about the application. You'd measure C3 if you need it depends. It depends on what you're doing. Just like how at certain times with rockets, TWR is way more important than Delta V. But a lot of the times with rockets when they're up in space, Delta V is tantamount. Delta V is a lot more important than TWR. But TWR still plays a manner into it. It really depends. It's the right form of measurement if you're depending on where you want the payload to go. Delta V usually is like the best way to do it, but there are other ways. C3 tells you how big a thing you can throw how far out, or energy you can put into a payload. So Tori Bruno, C3 is the characteristic energy of a body, or the total energy per unit mass. It means the excess energy it has to escape a near body's gravity. Literally, it's kinetic energy minus its gravity potential. So negative C3s are in orbit, and positive C3s are on their way to escaping. Like I said, it really depends on where you're going and what you're doing. Why do we need protocol droids anyway? Think of C3PO like Google Translate. Google Translate makes your life easier. He's fluent in over 6 million forms of communication. Moisture evaporators, yeah. I know a lot about moisture evaporators. But I was going to go to Tossie Station to pick up some power converters. You can waste time with your friends when your chores are done. The truck's stuck in the tracks. This R2 unit has a bad motivator. Look. Hey, what are you trying to pull on us? Dang Jawas. Filthy creatures. Okay. So I need to make sure that I can pull this thing off, right? So we got to make sure we can pull one off the ramp in case we need to. Yeah, what Demo said is the right way to do it. And that's what I mean about different forms of measurement. C3 is one of those weird things that's hard to explain. It's like the first time you were told Delta V, right? And how spacecraft range is measured in acceleration, not distance, right? It's one of those things where you're like, I'm sorry, what? Oh, we popped a tire. We got to make sure that we don't do that. Yep, that's part of what these integration tests are about, Wookie. Make sure we can pull this thing out of here if we need to. Aren't Kerbals just green Jawas? I always thought of Kerbals more like Ferengi, if you really want to know. Only a much nicer version. In terms of Star Wars, Kerbals, I guess the closest equivalent would be Mon Cal, maybe? Maybe? Alright, let's test it again. The Kerbals are basically nicer Ferengi. Huh. We docked to it that time without with just the aligners. We didn't have the lift things. Interesting. All right, let's do one more integration test here. I can't believe this. It's literally this simple. Just align the thing with air brakes and it locks it right into position. All right, let me check alignment one more time here. Now, before we were pitched down by 1 degree, what is this thing doing? It's -1. That one's 0. Strange. I didn't lock out the pad this time, though, so we do have a little bit of a different testing criteria. And that one's 0. So the vehicle isn't bent. Pad is just a little bit pitched down, which is not ideal. We should have locked this thing out when we did this, because now that's set to 0.6. Toydarians. Yeah, maybe. Alright, let's see. I'm a Toydarian. Mind tricks don't work on me. Only money. Let's see if we get the same results. $88.9. Yep, she's still tilted. Okay, so it's doing the same thing. Alright, so switch back over here. Put the TE rotational speed down to 50. Reverse this controller out. And then play it, and then bring her back down. Hello? Oh, the docking sequence. No, 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 no. Stop, 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 stop. I really don't want those things to move that fast. Oh, that's cool, Sergeant Klein. Nice. I'm not testing that, caveman. If you really want to know, caveman, the wheelbase isn't wide enough. We'll accelerate to high speed and the thing will flip. It'll roll at high speed. Yeah, that's what'll happen. The reason why is it'll compress the front suspension or compress the rear suspension on the truck because this is above our center of mass. So it'll push the front suspension down and it'll lift the rear suspension up and we'll only be on 2 wheels and the thing will want to spin and roll over. Well, we don't want that to happen again. Okay, let's try undocking the thing again. Undocking it, defaulted control to the SSTO. Perfect. Excellent. What's the SSTO currently set as? Yep, ship prototype 15. Excellent. Okay. Let's go back to the truck. Truck does have two clapped out wheels, which is not ideal, but these are good integration tests, guys. It's good to get this stuff done right now. All right, so redock. Okay, truck is redocked. We do have, once again, broken wheels, but retract these. And roll the truck out of here. I can make a jet car if you want. We can make a jet car go fast. Good. I've made Jet F1 cars in this game in the past, guys. It's kind of the only way you can make a Formula 1 car go fast. The electric motors aren't really good for top speed. Perfect. All right. I saw what I needed to see. Any other objections on our air brake aligner? I think the air brake alignment system works fantastic. I do. KSP, yeah, that was fun. I think we're good. You need TP, Wookie? What? Yeah, that hinge is going to drift a little bit. For the most part, though, that stays in position, though. Hey, LTO. Yeah, so we need other ways. What did we learn from that? We need other ways to hold this thing up. Under fueling, this thing is going to be real heavy. Got to be careful. Yeah, that's pretty much it. The pad state right now, do you think it's better than Freedom's? No. Freedom's pad launches things, T-Man. Remember that part? That's basically what we're going to do, Altio, yeah. So, points of contact between that and the ground. And then that's pretty much it. Any of these have same vessel collision on? What happens if we do that? No, it doesn't like that. What happens if we do this? Okay. Happy late birthday. Thanks, Nuclear. Alright. Saw what I wanted to see. Recurable construction struts help keep it true. depends. Is this SSDO for the cheaper low curb and orbit missions? Yep. Crew and very, very light cargo, Droya. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Hopefully. Alright, let's go back, take a look at the pad here. So the idea with the SSTO, guys, is that we further consolidate down launch operations on the ground. The SSTO in this capacity won't be able to launch anything as big, right? It can't launch stuff as big as Freedom, not by any means. In fact, it launches maybe 1/10 of what a Freedom rocket could put into space. But the idea is that I can do it more. In the time it takes to do one Freedom mission, we could do 2 SSTO or even 3 or 4 SSTO missions. Payload capacity should even out over time, and with Kerbal construction, we might be able to take it even further. But that's just with the small SSTO. With the big SSTO that can move what Freedom can move into space, we could easily move a lot of stuff up and down. Yeah, we could get pretty nuts with it if we really wanted to. It's not a CubeSat, T-Man. This thing, the way I have it set up, would be doing something synonymous in function with like Vega or somewhere between Electron and Vega and yeah, somewhere between Electron and Vega. Electron, Vega, maybe even Antares. It's not high payload capacity to orbit, but it's really quick and easy to launch it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. All right. There is one other thing that I kind of think might be a good idea, but it could bind the hydraulics. We could do ion sats if I unlock the ion thrusters. Yeah, sure. Here, let me turn on the rotational debug controller. All right. There. This should do it. Yeah. This should get us what we want. In fact, I might want to just move it out a little bit. Actually, inwards would look better. But that changes the footing a little bit. Having these things pushing into the ground as well could, yeah, that'll basically do it. It'll basically help us. That'll prevent this thing from moving around too much, and then I can move this. We ran the strut already. We can move this back into position, and the strut will look like it's a little bit offset, but it'll work. Heck, I could even select the strut and just move it out here like that. Cool. And have it, you know, I have it clipped into the ground just a teeny weeny bit. Yeah, that should do it. I don't think I even need the other set, but I could. I think this will be fine. I could do that, Wookie. Yeah, we could do that, but it's easier to just keep track of it in your head. I mean, well, not necessarily. I mean, that would kind of make it idiot-proof too, but yeah. See, that looks kind of dumb. Maybe I should just build a table down here. You know? But then again, if I built the table down here, we would need to enable same vessel collision somewhere. And we can't enable SVI on these parts because they clip into each other. Yeah, this is the... Why not just 4 legs? I don't think we need 4. Hey, Errol, what's up, man? I mean... yeah, I don't think we need 4, but... I'll try. I mean, this would be better to take pressure off of the pressure off the hinge. You never want to save hinges when they're under load. Bad idea. That's how they drift. They will drift that way. So, yeah, you don't ever want to do that. Sneaky. When I was talking to you yesterday, I was on the beach, dude. I'm like, Mustangs, beach, beach. Omega Nerd, what's going on, buddy? How are you? All right. I think this should work. So our air brake leveling system works correctly. You should do it in real life, Sneaky. It's much more fun in real life because real life, you know, exists. If you built a table underneath it with air brakes, could you use it on more uneven ground? Yeah, King. That coupled with a ground anchor could work. But Kerbal doesn't really like that. The ground anchors could change that, for sure. They could change it. I don't have the body strength to do that yet. Body strength. Sneaky, I'll be honest with you. You just outed yourself as someone who's never even bothered to try and wrench on a car before. That's not the strength, dude. Just make a bigger lever. Struggle a bit. Oh, you're not work smarter, not harder. If you can't turn the dang wrench or you can't get leverage on something, make a bigger lever. It's like playing Kerbal. You have unlimited resources at your disposal. You got to use them right, dude. Cheater bars, man. Absolutely. You think I have the strength? Well, bear with me. You think I've always had the strength to be able to turn wrenches? No, you just use a bigger wrench. Give yourself a lever big enough, you can move the world. Be resourceful. Like when you're playing KSP. That's what rear wrenching's all about. Using your noodle. That's why people do it. It's fun. It's hard in a confined space. Confined space? Have you seen the... Also referred to as a big metal hollow pipe. See, Tanuki knows. Tanuki, you wrench. She wrenches. You wrench, right? Wait, do you? I actually never asked. Do you wrench? I wrench all the time. I stream wrenching. You have many pipes, so that's a yes. Just, you need a big enough lever. It's just like exactly what I'm working on here with the hydraulics. Bro, do you even wrench? If I have a longer hydraulic and the hydraulic pushes on the erector out there, we're going to have way more leverage. We don't need as much strength to push the thing out here. However, we do need a bigger, more complicated hydraulic that can reach further. Key is finding the, with this, is finding the right application, and that's what wrenching is all about. You're not going to need a huge freaking pipe every time you need to move something, but a breaker bar or something definitely helps. Why are we talking about wrenching? I was talking about part lifting. Oh. Floor jack? floor jack? Alright, anyway. Alright, as long as you're going to do it soon, you should. It's fun. Wrenching is amazing. You can wrench until the end of the night.
Discovery, go and throttle up.
I mean, Sneaky, I couldn't lift a brake drum and it landed on my finger the other day and pinched it. That's all dried up blood underneath my fingernail. It happens. That's really loud. Hey, Leroy, 2-month resub. Alright. I think that's the only thing we really needed to add there. I'm happy with how the rest of this stuff works, guys. You don't need a longer bar if it's liquid. I don't understand. Okay. Yeah, it's problem solving, Sim. I don't wrench often, but using a torque wrench is very satisfying. Oh yeah. I'm with you on that one, Catch. Alright, so we have this figured out. Now we need to build the integration. We need the integration crane. Alright, that should work. We'll save that for the next round of testing. The other thing I was kind of thinking about is maybe making a secondary docking port for the transporter erector to get the erector and this thing to move in synchronous. They might bind up a little bit at certain times, but I don't think Kerbal will deal with binding by just bending the joints here. But I don't know if that's going to cause more hydraulic drift or not, but who knows. I could basically have a secondary system that will go up and latch to the SSDO's front docking port here, and that could work. Yeah, well, it starts with the minivans, Sneaky. Nobody starts with a 69 Mustang, just like in Car Mechanics Sim, you know? Not everybody can barn find one, you know what I'm saying? As long as you want to do it, I suppose that's good enough, my dude. Alright. Okay, so now, the integration crane. I'm thinking. Alright, so let me look at the real X33. Hold on. Oh. Just. Oh. Huh? Excuse me. Pretty much, Hellfish. I'm gonna modify Freedom's gantry into this. Okay, be prepared to don your monocles, chat. Yes, don your monocles. It is time. It is time. It's a nice cleaner hat you got there. Oh, thanks. Thank you, sir. All right, I got to do this so it doesn't mute the VOD. Ready?
To develop technologies essential for lowering the cost of going to space, Lockheed Martin is building and will fly an extraordinary, fully reusable vehicle, the X-33. Its first 450-mile flight from Southern California to Utah will take just 14 minutes. To protect the vehicle from the high heat of re-entry, X-33.
Okay, so this is an X-33 Oh, hey, Horace, shh, quiet. This is an X-33 promotional video. I basically need to make this in the next scene right here. Neslick, how's it going? It's getting too hot. 51F today. Rip. See this thing? We got to make that thing. See, we got this part. We got that. See, we got that part. We got that part all figured out. That's right, Art. See, we got this part. That part's done. We got this figured out. This part, yeah. See, we good. Hey man, just stopping by to let you know that your mustache is fire. Thanks, man. Hell yeah, brother. Yep. I did it for America. Yep. For America. Did it for America. So see, you know, ours is not suborbital, but like this one. But if you go over here and kind of look at the X-30 or the Venture Star, what the X-33 program was supposed to lead to, this thing right here, our gantry is going to look more like this. Are those Mark II shuttle tails? Yeah. I want to look at it, mark it, before I show it on stream. Yeah, I like doing that. I generally don't like looking at stuff kind of unsolicited like that, dude. Yeah, see, we need to make something like this. Who blows leaves in the summer? I don't know, Endo. I don't know. I would like to make that vehicle. We might need to make something like that for the bigger one. This thing is a monster. Yeah, see, this part. That's basically what we need to do. Yeah. How many true SSTOs have been made in real life? Precisely 0. The closest thing that we've ever come to supernova is the shuttle. Shuttle engine start, right at ignition, right? Go for main engine start. And the shuttle flies all the way into space, and the only thing that separates is the boosters. That's the closest thing. Either that or an Atlas missile, an Atlas SM-65. And Buran, we'll say Energia core stage, Brem. The Energia core stage can fly right up into space, but it needs those boosters. Yeah. What are you blowing? What are these guys blowing around? Pollen? Like, for reals? Seriously? What else could you possibly be blowing around right now? What constitutes that much leaf blower right now? Grass clippings. The parking lot is out that window 3 stories down. The parking lot. There's no grass over there. Stop it! Shut up. Thank you. Who said they are blowing? What? Anyway, this is what we need to do. Right here. That shouldn't be too hard. Seriously, how hard can it be? And then later, later we gotta do that whole thingamajigger right there. Oh man, that thing would have been so righteous. We should. This thing should be made. That thing should be made. That thing should have gotten made. It's really stupid that it wasn't. That was really, really stupid. Like really, really stupid. Anyway, yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I need to build a hangar that basically does that. So I'll turn this stream around. That'll end your precious little field trip pretty damn quick, huh? All right, so let me go over here. Actually, it's 3:38. We need to get ready for space news. So our alignment system works. That was actually a pretty critical step here. So let's go over here. Build the hangar and fuel depots, and you should be good to go for a launch. Yours, past DJ. Good to go for a launch test. Okay. Alright, let's take a look. Where's the gantry crane? I'm going to try to use the one that we used for Freedom. For the Freedom rockets. And then subsequently for this SSTO as well. There's the launch pad mount test. There's all the bilobe tanks. Where's the crane? LV3 pad 1A crane. Let's try merging that one. Let's see what this one is. Yep, that's the one. This is the last iteration of that crane that we had. Where's the route? There we go. So we're not wide enough right now. We need to make it a little wider, but that's okay. What's Freedom? It's another rocket that I was working on. It's the rocket that that the SSTO is replacing. It's my outgoing rocket. We're retiring it. Okay, so I'm gonna keep this crane in here. I'm going to keep this crane in here, and we basically are going to need to pick parts off of it. There you go. Hey, Angle, 26-month resub. Long time no see, buddy. Everything okay? Yeah, so I'm going to need to make the crane wider. We're going to need to make it just a little bit longer. And I want to make it look like the hangar from that X-33 video where it encompasses the entire pad. And the bridge crane won't need to be that long. And the bridge crane doesn't need to really move left or right either. But we'll look more into that on the other side. on the other side of Space News. The pad, if I add the fuel depots right now, the pad should be good to go. We should be good to go to launch the SSTO in a recoverable capacity because I can't put payload back into it, right? But, yeah, I want to do flight testing today. We're going to do that. We're going to do flight testing. I'm considering adding a hangar part to the Mark 33 crane that I made. Do it. Alright, so I'm just gonna go grab a snack real quick, guys. I hope you and Brimo are fine. Everything's a good angle. Yeah, no, I can't complain. Everything is a-okay. Yeah, and on the other side of that, we'll get the crane figured out. Once again, all the hard parts of the crane, so like how the hydraulics move and everything, that's all been figured out. It's all been figured out, like 10 times over. We can do that, no problem. So, yeah, not worried about that. Might want to make... I'm still wondering if we should make the crane be able to move forward, back, left, and right, but that is going to be a more complicated thing to make. So the quick solution would be to just take Freedom's bridge crane and just use that. But we might run into some spatial problems that I'll tell you guys about on the other side of break. Was there a theoretical shuttle design where the orange tank and boosters were a suborbital shuttle attached to the real shuttle? It was a space shuttle concept, yeah, from Boeing, if I'm remembering right. It was actually... the shuttle and the external tank were combined into one piece with a payload bay, and the first stage was basically an S1C. It was a Saturn V first stage. Well, not a Saturn V first stage, but here, take a look. The first stage was a flyback. So this thing would fly up, it would re-enter, turn around, come back, and land. And this thing up top was basically the space shuttle with... it was the shuttle with... basically... think Starship with fixed wings. That's basically what this is. There's a payload bay up on the front, you got a fuel tank right there, you got your propulsion section out back, and then you got people up in the front. This is basically Starship. It's basically Starship with conventional landing gear. That's, for the most part, what it is. Yeah, both of these are basically... This would have been like Super Heavy right here, Alex. Yeah, this would have been like Super Heavy, except, you know, propulsive landing wasn't a thing in the 60s. You couldn't have figured that out. I don't think we could have figured that out. So this is a Saturn V first stage. That's the diameter of that. So that's 10-meter diameter. And this is kind of like the external tank almost. This was a concept that they did kind of go through with a bunch of other shuttle concepts. There was stuff like that. That one right there is what eventually became the actual space shuttle. There was a Saturn shuttle concept where they took that same exact thing, and instead of combining the shuttle and the fuel tank into one thing, you have the external tank riding on top of an S1C flyback first stage. We've made something similar to this in KSP called Jebstone before. Jebstone 6. It was kind of like that. There was all different types of stuff. That's a Shuttle 2 concept. I don't know if that thing would have worked. Kind of a cool idea, but nah. And then there was Star Raker, which basically was the shuttle with a ton of engines on it, right? And then it carried 2 external tanks in a bilobe configuration out in front, and it jettisoned the tank part in the front. Actually, that's actually a pretty cool idea. I'm not really a fan. If we're going to go with a shuttle design, I don't like the fact that it jettisons parts. But yeah, Rocket Guy made this in his save. That's what he uses. Then there was this. Believe it or not, and the other thing is that there was other concepts for the X-33, the project that we're working on. The X-33 was a designation that was bestowed once the contract was awarded. Rockwell came up with an X-33 that was basically an external tank with shuttle engines on it that flies into space. It would be like if you took the external tank on the shuttle and made it into Buran Energia, and you just carried payload on it, and that's it. It was that one over there. It was like you just carried payload on the side, or an upper stage, and yeah, see it over there? There's also the X